What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining in. I already saw some witty comments, which I'm going to have to address immediately and nip this one in the butt. And that is this one. Am I going to finally send Drew that 6-arc barrel? There is never any promises, as far as I know, that Drew was going to get a 6-arc barrel. Now, triggers, perhaps, but definitely not barrels. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us this fine Sunday evening. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. I'm actually glad I can sit on my ass without it hurting for a while. Like you turn 40 and like almost immediately, like everything just like starts coming up. I no longer feel invincible. Uh, we have a really special treat today, I think. As long as these guys show up, we're going to definitely air some dirty laundry. And all of this basically stemmed from one of our usual guests who has a pretty big channel now, but always complains that somehow he ends up spending money and he doesn't make anything off of YouTube. And then on the opposite side, you have another channel by this musclehead who's like, dude, you're wrong. So we might have that little debate a little bit later on today. What am I drinking? I actually have tea today. Nursing it. But this is actually Darjeeling tea, black Darjeeling tea. I don't know how to exactly pronounce it. All right, but before the guests arrived, wanted to kind of discuss a couple of topics, some of the stuff that was popping up in the forums, one of the new things. I'm not going to dive into the first one a little bit too deeply because I was hoping that we were going to have a guest from an AR manufacturer come on and discuss this a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to glaze over it just a little bit. But then we're going to discuss the new 22 ARC cartridge, and then hopefully by that time we're going to have our guests. Household items, obviously, thank you for coming on. The super awesome glow-in-the-dark patches are, I believe, are being shipped out today to us. So we're going to have those very soon. If you have not picked up your awesome patches, you can pick them up right here. So we did launch a website, luxgun.com. That is where we're going to have a whole bunch of our patches, stickers, merchandise, things like that. It definitely goes a long way towards supporting the channel. Right now, we have the patches on our pre-order price. So they are discounted. And then if you are a SlavGuns channel member, then if you go into the community tab, there's going to be a discount code which you can put in, and it's going to bring them down even further. So that's definitely going to be appreciated. And you can be a channel member. Hold on, let me get those directions. By like clicking like right around there, there's going to be the join button. So click the join button, become a channel member. It doesn't matter at what level you become a channel member, but you're going to get access to that. You're also going to get access to a whole bunch of merchant discounts, including to our friends over at Anarchy Outdoors. So you do get an awesome discount for those guys. And if you didn't see the live stream we had with Aaron last week, definitely do check that one out. We were discussing the Garmin Zero chronograph, which now is shipping, and it looks like it's a really nice chronograph. And thank you, I believe it was Buzz, answered one of the questions that we had, which was, is it a sealed battery? Is the battery going to be replaceable? And he was actually able to find that the battery that's used in the Garmin Zero is a fairly common lithium-ion battery that you can buy on Amazon for like $15. So use a bunch of torque screws around the outside, replace it, and you'll be able to replace it. So that's super awesome. So it's not like a proprietary battery, and it will be able to be replaced. Furthermore, I do have, so we've been doing, you've probably been seeing a bunch of our YouTube friends do videos on the Sunway Photo shooting tripods. I do have a couple of open box tripods that I am going to list them up on the website, or if you're interested in those, just leave it as a comment and I'll send you a link. and I'll have those up there at a pretty good discount as well. There are going to be a couple of newer tripods that are going to be coming on as well, so you will see those very, very soon. And then if you want to help support the channel, so obviously if you have questions, feel free to send a super chat. Definitely goes a long way towards supporting the T Fund. And always upgrading the camera gear, the audio gear, and all of that stuff. I am a little bit of a gear snob for this. Deets on the tripod. So I have two open box TL 3240s, which are going to have the twist locks, and then I have an open box T2830, which is the newer one. And so I'm going to throw those up on there, or just send me a DM on Discord or any of those stuff, and we'll can definitely get those out to you. I'm thinking it's like they're brand new, but what they were somebody purchased them and then they returned them, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And so I want to do is like take $50 off of each one. I think that sounds fairly fair. Still same thing. You have the full warranty and all of that stuff, and I'll probably include some extras with those. So that's the deets on those. Cool. All right. So, super chats, become a channel member. That's definitely going to go a long way. Tonight, we are streaming to a new platform as well. We are also streaming to Rumble. We're streaming to Rumble as well. So I'm probably not checking those, but it'll be on there. When will Slav have some humorous outtakes from his channel? The entire thing is an outtake. It's actually interesting though. So somebody was asking me about it the other day. It's kind of like funny. So it's going to be 4 years or 5 years. I think 4 years coming up in February. And kind of like the tone of the channel has changed quite a bit. Like, honestly, it's funny that some of the still the most viewed videos on the channel are videos that I did 3 years, like right in the beginning. I can't watch them. I can't stomach watching those videos. Like, they're so cringeworthy. So there were some outtakes on those, but we'll probably do something along those lines. But honestly, the process has changed a little bit. That honestly, like when I go and do, like, if you want the outtakes, it's going to be these interactions on these live streams, because oftentimes when right now, like in order to like for a rifle review. So I guess let's leave it that way. Actually, I'm going to take it one step back. If I'm doing like something with a handgun, or if I just need access, let's say, for example, at 50 to 100 yards, I have a friend of mine who lives close by, 15 to 25 minutes away, and he has a private range where I can go to. And basically, we can take our sweet ass time and we can just do stuff off the cuff. But anything that's really been rifle related, like where I go shoot 500, 600, 700 yards, that range is almost 2 hours away from me in each direction. So it's 4 hours of driving. So when I go to the range, literally almost everything that I do there is scripted. I'm not scripted, but like planned out. So I do have the goals of, and I guess, we can start talking about kind of like the background, like being the GunTuber. The background of being a GunTuber, and like we'll have Alex and Steven come on and we can discuss this a little more in depth. So the process that I generally follow is, let's say, for example, somebody sent me something new to play with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go play with it at home. I'm going to take it to the range. I'm going to play with it while I'm at the range recording another video. I'm going to get the first impressions. And if I'm doing a first impressions, anything, I will record it off the cuff as I am playing with it. Then what I do is I take all those impressions, I take that footage, I go back home, and then I actually script out and plan out pretty much the majority of the video, of like, let's say, for example, like the factual stuff. And then when I go to the range, I can actually just record what I need to. And then basically the videos that you're seeing is a combination of a couple of days. It's not all just like from one day. So that way, when I do go to the range, it's often what I need to get done. Like what I'll have is, let's say, for example, I prepared 4 videos to film, but I know that there's going to be interruptions. I know that there's going to be somebody, let's say, shooting nonstop rapid fire at the range next door, and I can't stand that type of stuff in the background. So my goal is, hey, I'm going to be happy if I film 4 videos, but realistically, there's going to be 2 videos that are planned out and we do need to film, because it's not on private property and there's like other people who are going to be at the range. So it's a little bit more pain in the ass. So when the videos, when they're more or less planned out, honestly, I can get a lot of them done pretty much in one take, with the exception of if there's like a tech malfunction or something else along those lines. But the shits and giggles and stuff, that's honestly on the live streams, that's going to be on SHOT Show videos, actually, because that's when you go to the booth and either I can't keep my mouth shut during an interaction, and I got to call somebody out on like out of flagrant bullshit. Like if somebody's like making stuff up or like something is like completely off, I will interject and say that. Or just basically something that basically does pop up. That's definitely going to be there. And there's like some people like in the industry, like when we go to the booths, like we've done 2 to 3 videos with them in the past, or companies I've worked with. They'll try to do something, just kind of get a little bit more in there. So that's when we have the humorous outtakes. But I will try to do a little bit more with that. It just honestly, it's like one of the biggest changes. Like when you start taking a little bit more seriously, just kind of like, I need to make sure that we plan this out, and especially as the days are getting shorter, like past 4 o'clock, you can't film anything because the sun's in the wrong direction and all of that stuff. And Michael, thank you very much. Definitely appreciate that super chat. Bucks for bullets. Yeah, Steve. So okay, honestly, if you want to, if you want the outtakes, I will try. So I have this camera. I will absolutely try and get some of those outtakes. What I will say is, anybody who was in our group at SHOT Show, oh, there are some outtakes with that. I'm not sure if it was actually like even PC friendly. But there's some of the stuff that usually comes up. And honestly, I will say that like some of the YouTubers, holy shit, like I feel the way that I am in front of you guys is exactly how I am off the camera. I don't believe in having a persona just for shits and giggles. I will say that there's definitely a lot of YouTubers who do put on a persona in order to, okay, and I guess one of them, so what's the word? What's Black Rambo? Okay, here, if you want a little bit of a funny backstory. So Steven hates Black Rambo. Like he annoys the shit out of him. So when I was at the Palmetto State, and like honestly, before then, I never really watched Black Rambo. I think I saw like 1 or 2 videos or whatnot. So I was at the Palmetto State Armory event, and here I am, I'm walking down, and I see Black Rambo. And I saw how he was recording some videos and all of that stuff. And by that point, I knew of him. I watched some of his videos. I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is really him or whatnot. And I'm like, you know what? I need to film I completely wrong for our channel and our community. But I'm like, hey, let me actually go up to him. Let me film a video with him just so I can send it to Steven and annoy the hell out of him, because I know it would rile him up. So here I am, like I go up to Black Rambo, and he was working at the Panzer Arms booth. So like he's a spokesman for them. Panzer Arms is an importer of Turkish shotguns, and we're right here in Pennsylvania as well. So I figured it was going to be a good connection. And Panzer Arms is also the company that now owns the rights to the AR-57 uppers. So the upper receivers that shoot 5.7 for ARs. So I'm like, hey, no, this is going to be a great idea. So I go up to Black Rambo, and I'm like, hey, like introduce myself. And I was expecting something like, don't get me wrong, I grew up in the hood. So when we immigrated over from the Soviet Union, I lived in the hood. So if anybody knows New Jersey, I lived in Elizabeth, right on the border of Newark. Basically, whiteys were a 5% minority in that school district, and you knew how to you learn how to survive. So like I straight up expected Black Rambo to act just as he does in his videos. And I go up to him, and this motherfucker speaks eloquent English, brilliant dude. Like you're talking to him. Let's put it, before I became a gun tuber and like started wearing Adidas, my general everyday wear was I ran an investment advisory practice. I published in Wall Street Journal, Seeking Alpha, heavily involved in the finance side of it, and I was more comfortable in boardrooms than basically at the range. Let's put it that way. And like I'm having a conversation with him, and we're having like this high level finance conversation with Black Rambo. I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, let's do a video for this. And then he like bam puts on his act and puts on his persona. And then he's like, oh wait, we got to do my grill thing. And I'm like, wow. So yeah, there's your Bullets4Bucks story. But I was completely blown away. But it kind of really goes back to the whole idea with YouTubers, that like a lot of the YouTubers that you meet out there, they do put on a persona. And some of them might put on, like, some of it is they'll put on a persona for show, and then in real life they're like awesome people. And then I do know of a number of YouTubers who are like made up like these people that you put up on a pedestal, but in person they're like, they let their vanity and popularity go to their head. And it's just like, wow, it's like you really are a douchebag in person. So yeah, it's funny. Honestly, what I will say, so like everyone, I guess don't the one person who really puts on a really big persona, I would say, is Ilya, the Dark Lord of Optics. Um, I guess like he tries to put on this persona of like he doesn't care and like and whatnot, but in person, he is like the nicest guy you will meet. Um, super duper, super duper awesome person. He will take his time to explain things to you. And like, so like the same advice that he would be charging companies hundreds or if not thousands of dollars per hour for, he will go out of his way to help you if you're a nice person. So, that's a little bit more on that. So I see we have Alex is on. Give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready, bud. Cool. Do we know if Mr. Steven Bullets4Bucks comes in, and then we'll bring on this discussion. So Michael, thank you for the super chat. Definitely appreciate that. Okay, this is not a gravy boat. These are, okay, here we go. Funny story. These are Villeroy and Bosch. I don't remember what movie, like I'm a Jew. So I'm frugal. And like I don't mind like getting nice stuff, but it better be on sale. So we got these, like I always wanted these cups. I dated a girl, and her family, like they're fairly okay off. I would say upper middle class. And when I went to her house, like they had these cups, and I'm like, oh my god, these things are amazing, and I always wanted them. And it was like so tough for me to justify these, because I think like a set of 2 cups with the plate were like $80 or something along those lines. And I think like when you had like a wedding or open up an office, like I bought these. So like these are just so amazing to drink coffee out of. These are not gravy boats, but this is definitely one of the nice ones. All right. Ryan, Boom Country Hydrographics, do subscribe to his channel and his Instagram. He's getting more into that. And if you want more outtakes and stuff, make friends with this guy. So Karchark is a very close friend. He helps out, and he's actually the catfish person that you're talking about. In some of the videos, he had that epic mustache, although I believe he shaved it now. I can't imagine Slav putting on a persona. It would be like a drunk walking straight during an earthquake. Possibly. I will say, so let's put it this way. I know how to keep my mouth shut when I need to. And I feel just uncomfortable having like a gun conversation as I do sitting in a boardroom with somebody. I will give, okay, you want to look another funny story. So, the background and kind of how this channel started was I've been a gun owner for 14. I'm going to bring you on, my friend, very, very shortly. I'm waiting for Steven to pop on. And we're going to bring you on with your Epik arms. Oh my God, I just got that. Mr. Epik Arms has epic arms. All right, I'm going to bring him on now while I give you the story. So, hello there, my friend.
God, you just literally abandoned me. You're like, yeah, 15, 20 minutes. And here we are, 27 minutes later.
Yes.
Hey guys,
Hold
I'm
on,
Alex from Epic Arms.
There we go.
Can you guys hear me clearly?
We can hear you just fine.
Where do I gotta do it? Okay, there we go.
My God.
I don't know the size of them.
Are you Are you on it right now, or you're off of it?
No, I'm off. I'm in my off season right now.
Okay, so your dick and balls are normal size right now.
There are children probably listening to this, Max.
At 10:30, I hope you're asleep.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, my kiddo is asleep now, as well as my wife.
Okay, I'm sure people are wondering. I guess is it legal in Canada or not?
I mean, some products are legal for research purposes only, but not for human consumption.
Okay. Whacked. All right. So we are going to have that conversation. I'm glad you have that SHOT Show t-shirt on. Dude, but I literally just like epic arms. I mean, you do have epic arms, and it seems like you're bigger now than you were last year, right?
Actually, I'm 235, and I was actually 235 last year, but I had a gut. So I got rid of the gut, and I still maintained the weight. So, yeah.
All right. There we go. All right. So, basically, the funny story about SHOT Show and kind of like if I'm putting on a persona is, I've been a gun owner probably for about 15 years now. Like started shooting in 2008, and there he is. Steven is on, so we're gonna let him set up, and then we're gonna have this conversation. You guys are in for a treat. If you want a preview of what SHOT Show is like, this might be it. All right, so the story of it is, and how the channel started. And Alex, if you can find a set of headphones, so that'll actually help.
I don't know if I can do that. How bad is the audio?
Well, when you're moving stuff, it's like it might be a little bit, but you're okay. We'll make it work. You're not a professional live streamer like Mr. Bullets4Bucks.
Oh man, no, I almost never do live streams.
All right, so basically the story with it was, so I started shooting, been a gun owner for 15 years, and professionally, I was always involved in the finance side of things. And then because a lot of my clients were gun owners, a lot of them started asking me, hey, what do you think of Ruger stock or Smith & Wesson stock, things like that. And I still publish. I basically got a little bit more of a name and a reputation as the analyst who actually understands guns, because what most people fail to realize, even though the gun industry is fairly big, it's still a very small industry. So the publicly traded companies, which at that time were Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Cabela's, Olin, and Vista Outdoors, they were, even though they're publicly traded, they're still small cap stocks. And the typical analyst was, so for example, like Walmart or Apple or Tesla, you'll have one analyst covering one stock and that's it. But with small caps like Ruger, Smith & Wesson, you're going to have one analyst who's covering those companies plus 60 others. And what the biggest thing was, and I was like, okay, don't these people understand anything about firearms? And I go to SHOT Show, and that's when Smith & Wesson had their analyst meeting. So I'm in there and I'm walking out. We're doing they're showing us the products. That's when Crimson Trace first launched their scopes. And the analyst from ING, massive bank, picks up the scope and she looks at it backwards. So here it is, the lead analyst for a major bank who's covering Smith & Wesson. She's never looked for a scope. She's never held a gun in her life, but that's what it was. So I was probably the only person who actually was deeply involved in the firearm space. And that's how I became basically friendly with them. And it was actually a CFO of one of the major gun companies and the CEO of a smaller company. He's no longer there. Independently, within a 2-week period, I was kind of telling them, hey, I'm starting to get a little bit burned out on the finance side, have a kid in a way. I'm like, I'm contemplating doing something. And then independently of that, a friend that I knew locally, he was a writer for one of the big magazines. He told me how much one of the big gun companies paid him as a retainer, just to quote unquote keep us in mind. In case you write an article, please use our stuff. And I'm like, I'm in the wrong damn business. So I basically, they encouraged me to do a YouTube channel. And that is why me, as even when I was like brand new, I had access to certain firearms that most other YouTubers would not have access to. So that was the quick story of this channel in the background. And so then basically I'm a SHOT Show, and I think this is like 3 years ago. So Media Day is the day before SHOT Show. And I'm there. This is the first time like I was wearing Adidas. I was wearing my Adidas hoodie and Adidas pants. And I filmed some videos at the Ruger booth. At that time, it was the CFO was there hanging out, and the head of the products were there. 2 days later, during SHOT Show, we have the Ruger analyst meeting. So I show up in a suit and tie. The CEO, Chris, he looks me up and down. He's like, Max, what the fuck? I'm like, what? He's like, why you're wearing that? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, I'm like, business wear. He's like, so Tom told me that yesterday you were wearing a tracksuit. I fully expected you to show up to our meeting in a tracksuit. Yeah. So I just found it a little bit hilarious. Here I am. I'm getting ready for my meeting with the CEO, CFO, CMO, COO of Ruger, and they're expecting me to show for an analyst meeting, and they're expecting me to show up wearing a tracksuit because of the YouTube channel. So that was fun stuff. All right. So on this topic, I see Steven is here. And what was my first gun? It was a Smith & Wesson 22A, followed very shortly by Smith & Wesson 1911 Pro Series 1911 in 9mm. All right, Steven, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Cool. All right, so we're in for a treat. Steven, welcome.
Hey. What's up?
Was that just me, or like that sounded like a little bit like a Borat? Hey.
You know, with the lighting, it kind of looks like you're in the bottom of your bulldozer there, all steeled in and everything.
All right. So I guess we're not going to be discussing the top. Okay, here, I'm going to quickly discuss the two topics I had planned. Number one was there was an injunction against the pistol braces. So pistol braces are okay right now. Next week, I am hoping to have the owner of either Troy Firearms or Darkstorm Industries come on the stream and discuss that in more detail, but they are going to start shipping guns with pistol braces immediately. So starting this week, I will have a link to the injunction. I will link it in the description as soon as I get that linked. Number two, Hornady launched a new caliber, 22 ARC. I'm sorry, new caliber, 22 ARC, which is basically 6.5 Grendel neck down to a 22 with the shoulder pushed back just a little bit. I believe we're waiting for Aaron. We're going to be discussing that one, and we can discuss that one a little bit later on here. But the reason why I'm excited to have Daddy and Epik Arms on is of a topic that basically keeps popping up. So we have a private Discord server, much like we have a Discord server for SlavGuns. We do have a Discord server for us privately as content creators, and a conversation that almost always pops up is Alex sharing his business success and Steven complaining how even though his channel has over 100,000 subscribers, he still doesn't make any money and he's down a lot of money. And yeah, so that was basically that discussion. So I wanted to bring these two guys on and basically discuss this. What the future of being a GunTuber is it actually profitable? Is it actually, are you losing a bunch of money? Is Alex doing something right? Or is Steven going about it completely the wrong way, despite his channel is being twice or 3 times as big as ours? So the ground rules: be respectful. One person talks at a time. And I will go and look for the questions. If you guys have questions about any of this stuff,
So,
and go from there. So
I
go ahead,
guess
Alex.
I guess first I might as well tell you guys. I mean, since obviously I'm the one we're talking about, I can't tell all my secrets because you're just all gonna have to buy my master class. You know, it's literally only like a couple $1,000, a month, and so that way you can really achieve the same success that I have. I'm just
Okay.
kidding. It's literally not that great, and I don't have a master class, but I do things a certain way, and I do things I think that will be the most successful most of the time. Also, like, because I mean, if I did things in my mind the smartest way possible, I'd be following exactly what Backfire did. In fact, I was planning on doing what Backfire did before Backfire was Backfire. So if you look at, let's say it has a science,
Blackfire.
Blackfire, whatever. Max
I
was
know you're
talking
into
about
that.
Black Rambo, and he got me all messed up here. So Backfire, if you look at his first videos, and if you're planning on doing a
I'm not going to
channel,
go there.
and I coach other newer YouTube channels like Bullets4Bucks. Just kidding.
You coach?
Actually, I do. So I find newer channels, I take them under my wing, and I give them coaching. I give them feedback. I even loan them guns to review. I loan them scopes. Whatever. I don't care. So anyway, if you look at Backfire's the way he did it, he started off by reviewing all Blackfire info. That should be a new channel name. So he started off by reviewing a bunch of the budget bolt action rifles. And then he did the best of the budget bolt action rifles. That's exactly what I was planning on doing. And because YouTube sees it like, okay, you reviewed this rifle, the Savage XS2. You reviewed the Ruger American Predator. You reviewed the Mossberg. And he did basically all of those rifles at once, or basically one at a time. And they're all very researchable videos. And then he did the best stuff, which is an extremely researchable video. And in fact, I've done two best of videos. And they are my best 2 videos, and they've made the most money. They've gathered the most traffic. If you look at them, one of them is the top 10 best budget to high-end PRS rifle scopes. And the second one is top 10 best PRS rifles. And those are my 2 best videos. So he pretty much did that, but right from the start. So YouTube doesn't see that some of his videos are a failure. They see all of them as very successful because he researched what he wanted to do and he did it. And now he can kind of branch off and do things that more interest him as opposed to just focusing on what's probably going to work. And I think some of the differences, like let's say what we're doing compared to him or compared to other really successful channels, is probably that we focus on things not only that are super trendy, super popular, that are just going to be big banger videos, but on things that are maybe more interesting to us. That's kind of my kind of scoop on it.
Okay. Awesome. That's definitely a very, very fair point. Now, I will say there's actually people watching on Rumble. So that's awesome. Thumbs up to you guys. That's actually super cool. I don't actually have your comments coming in here, but I am going to have my phone. I am going to monitor that as well. So thank you guys. Actually, this is the first time we're streaming to Rumble. I will say Rumble has been an amazing success. Since we started publishing to Rumble, I made 10 cents. So thank you guys for that. That is completely awesome. No, legit. I really don't mind publishing to a bunch of other platforms. So I guess one of the topics, and this is one of the things that we're talking about since we're on a topic of money, is one of the things we all bitch about is, oh, YouTube is anti-gun. We all complain, and a whole bunch of other YouTubers complained, oh, this video was just demonetized. And like, I wish somebody made a platform, or we should all go somewhere else, which is going to be more friendly to our content. But here's the kicker. There are those platforms. You have Rumble, you have Odyssey. Beyond those, we had there's 4 or 5 gun streaming platforms themselves, and you can't make money on those. I mean, the views aren't there, the ad revenue isn't there. So I guess that kind of maybe goes back to Mr. Bullets4Bucks points. Maybe as a content creator, it's not actually profitable. So Steven, go ahead. I know you're dying to talk about this. I know you post, I guess once a month, you post on your community post that, hey, I need your click on the affiliate links because this channel loses money and we spent tens of thousands of dollars on this channel so far and haven't made squat. So why don't you go ahead and share your experience with this, and then we're going to take it into the direction of, hey, is being a GunTuber, is it actually profitable, or is everybody losing money? So go ahead, my friend.
Who, me? Oh, I'm tired. I don't even know if I feel like talking tonight. I just like poking the bear on Discord, but or maybe the Russian spy or the Canadian spy. Anyway, I don't. Oh, was that a poke on my community tab? I've only done that like twice, maybe. Actually, usually I haven't done it with affiliate links. But anyway, All
right. So in one of the, I hope you don't mind me putting up this number, but basically you keep great accounting of this, and you basically mentioned that in the last 3 to 4 years that you've been a GunTuber, that you've spent over $75,000 on this channel, and that you have not made anywhere near that amount being on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. So I think, I would say it arguably is a small estimate. I mean, I'm not going to show you my tax returns like Trump or something like that, but the point being that, I mean, I would estimate maybe 10 or 15,000, probably 15,000 in ammunition costs, maybe upwards of 50,000 in optics and rifle costs. I don't know about gas right now, but then.
Okay. Is that just his connection, or? Okay. So basically, I think Mr. Bullets4Bucks spent so much money on his guns and running his channel that the internet doesn't work where he is. All right. So Alex, I know we have a completely different take on this topic. So Michael had a comment. I just saw your post. Show us the tax return. All right, we're gonna wait for Steven to come back. I think he's still actually in his soliloquy and he's still talking.
I bet he just is faking it. He's just like,
no one can fake it for that long. Okay, so he quit on there. He is back. There you are.
What's going on? I didn't even know. I mean, like, I figured it out in a few seconds, but what's
going on? We weren't going to force you to show us the tax returns.
Well, F you, because I ain't showing it to you. I feel like Max is trying to like audit me alive or something right now. Like he's questioning my integrity or my honesty.
I have zero doubts that you spent that much money. Really kind of like the premise with it is, so I mean, there's a question. So is this not a good business model? I definitely think that while we do complain that, hey, it definitely, let's put it this way, it does cost us a bunch of money. So my 750-yard range is 100 miles in each direction. And with my gas my gas burner or my with my truck, my big expedition. It's about $60 in gas just to go to the range and actually record some of those videos. The costs do add up. Then you have the ammunition cost. You're going to have the time. And that obviously doesn't include the audio gear, doesn't include the cameras and all of that stuff. So in the last 20 months, I spent about $16,000 on camera equipment. Now, granted, I don't think I needed to spend anywhere near that amount. I
Did you
am a
say
little,
16,000?
yeah.
What the hell?
Okay. 3
I think you
professional.
should just like nail up some plywood or some 2x4s, drape some half-dead animal rugs over the back, and talk about Discovery Optics, and then you'd be making $1,800 a month, and you don't have anything to worry about. I mean,
Oh, should I do a shameless plug for my website?
oh,
We're
God, here we
gonna
go.
get to that. No, we're definitely gonna get to the income side of it. So we're focusing on the expense side of it. So
Yeah.
Stephen, obviously, I mean, so Stephen made a decision that he is, in order to grow his channel, and I mean, I gotta hand it, he is the most disciplined, hardest working content creator I know. This guy is like a freaking machine. He goes out there, he knocks that content out. Now, I will poke at him, like we can discuss the quality of the content, but it's definitely greatly improved. He's brought on a team, but he is probably the hardest working person. He's the most disciplined person that I know, that no matter what, he is going to go out there and he's going to do it. I mean, he's going to make his posts, he's going to write his blogs, he's going to go find a content creator who's hosting a live stream and get himself invited onto that live stream, even though he wasn't planned. That's the type of discipline that this man
And I
has.
feel like crap, and I'm still here.
Exactly.
Actually, I worked every. I don't even remember last. I've been working every day. I was just uploading videos to our other side venue.
Yes.
And literally minutes before I got on here, and then currently, because I have slow internet now, not fiber, and I'm trying to find a video editor again, and I'm being forced to kind of look remotely. I'm uploading 500 prime gigabytes on 20 megabytes up right now for the next 22 hours straight to try and get stuff on a cloud for them. And so that might be why I might be getting kicked on and off here, or my internet might be really rough.
Yeah.
I don't know what's because that's gonna be going. That's been going for about 2 days actually already on other stuff. But yeah, I was just uploading about 50 videos.
Okay.
Um,
So I'm basically.
I can go. I was gonna go back to the original thing. Hopefully, it doesn't cut out again. So I mean, I guess I could preface this by like, I never started YouTube with the expectation of ever making a cent. That's true. I never had any ambition of making it a business, and it was started purely to document hunting and try to maybe help some people along the way. And I didn't care about quality as far as like audio video, partly because I didn't have any money at all, and I had very limited time. And the goal wasn't to make it a business; it was just to basically document my journey. In the last year or two, I kind of there's on the horizon. There's going to probably be a necessity for it to make money, and at some point, I need to value myself or my time, and so that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I would say that I've spent. I don't know where it cut off on me, but 10 to 15, maybe $15,000.
Yep.
I've been doing it about 6 years. So $15,000 in ammunition, maybe $50,000 in guns and optics. These are rough numbers. And then gas, I don't know. Range fees, I don't really know. Camera gear is probably, camera and audio gear now is significantly up. It's probably like 15 to 20,000 or something.
What?
Because there's a lot of, because I have a bunch
How
of
did you do
drones, I have
that?
tons of DJI Pocket 2s. I have a couple bigger cameras. Okay, so maybe 10. But if you add in extra batteries and audio equipment, it might be, it's between 10 and 20. If you look at like all the expenses, if you were to add the hunting, because I do hunting content too, if you're going to add that in, you're talking about 200,000, 150, I don't even know. But if you're adding the fishing and hunting, because then you could be like, oh, side by side, 4-wheelers, this and that. I mean, then the cost is just astronomical. But I mean, you could go back and forth on that one. Time, I've never included. I've never even really given myself any value for my time, which is actually something I'm working on, is placing a value on my time. But yeah,
Okay.
I don't think like
But
being successful in, go ahead.
but it seems like kind of like the biggest thing is, and where the bulk of your money was, is that you went ahead and you bought a bunch of guns, you bought a bunch of ammo in order to make that content.
The first 3 to 4 years, not as much. This was a lot in the last like 2 because I had money for the first time ever to be able to do it. Although there was time in the first 3 years where I was putting ammunition and stuff on credit cards because that's how hungry I was and how passionate I was about it. It wasn't smart, but I put ammunition on credit cards, guns on credit cards, optics on credit cards, editing software on credit cards. I guess I haven't even included, I paid editor, social media management a little bit, and a whole bunch of like different softwares, subscription based services too. So that might be between 5 and 10,000 over the whole time. But I just think like it's a labor of love. So I still don't really do it for the money, but I'm to the point where I need the money. I need some money coming in and to value myself and my time and to be valued for a lot of reasons. I think that like from a business standpoint, though, it's insanity. Like if you already were a videographer, already knew about editing, already were successful and already had the equipment, or maybe you were a gun collector already, like that might be your unfair advantage if you were to start a YouTube channel, and then therefore it could be very doable and worthwhile and not necessarily a terrible idea. But starting from nothing, trying it, is definitely an uphill battle and arguably crazy. I think being successful to the point where you're making a good profit is like, it's like getting hit by lightning on YouTube. In our space, it's also like you are at risk of certain restrictions more than maybe some other niches. But I mean, I still do it because it's passion, right? And I think that's why we all do it.
Okay. So Alex, I know we had a completely different take on that. Well, from the perspective of the expense side of it. So, I mean, yes, we definitely do have it, but kind of like one of the things that when we're working with newer content creators, and kind of like the way I would kind of break it down for people, and you guys can chime in whether I'm talking out of my ass and I'm completely wrong, but when you're new and you want to say, hey, I want to be a YouTuber, then our advice is generally going to be great. What guns do you already own? Go ahead and make content on that, make review videos on that so you can start building up a portfolio. Hopefully it's common stuff that is going to be searchable, and that's going to get people to come to you. Because quite frankly, when you're starting a brand new channel, no one cares who you are. No one cares what you're going to go do or whatnot. But they are going to find you because you did a video on a Savage Access, and now they're going to find a Savage Access on a Black Friday sale, or you did a video on the brand new gun or the brand new caliber, and you're sharing your thoughts. Then as you get a little bit more traction and you have something that a company would be interested in seeing, so let's say, for example, you've done a number of review videos already, you can go ahead and you can start reaching out to these companies. And I know, Stephen, you have done it. Alex, you have as well, which is, hey, I'm interested in this gun. I want to do a review video on this. Can you send it to me on loan? And generally, these companies are going to be able to send you those firearms on loan for anywhere between 30 to 90 days. And then you can have it. Then once you start hitting it and you have good engagement, you produce good quality content. And I would say that there is more emphasis on that right now. So either engagement or quality content. Then companies are going to start finding you, and they're going to be like, hey, can you do a video for us on this or that, or we have something new coming out. And in the beginning, it's going to be cheap Chinese companies either peddling sex toys, or then it's going to be like companies actually in the firearm space offering holsters or scopes, things like that. And then you are going to have marketing agencies find you and start offering you guns and this and that. And then the top tier, the elite tier, once you have that record, is these companies are going to be reaching out to you. They're going to be like, hey, we want you to do a video. We're going to send you these 2 guns and whatnot. The expectation is those are going to be for keeps. And then the question mark is, okay, how big of a check do we need to send you along with that in order to do that? And that's generally kind of like the hierarchy. So when I started, I did have an unfair advantage, which was even with a brand new channel, because of who I knew, I was able to get guns on loan from Smith & Wesson and Ruger brand new, because they basically valued me because I've already done work for them on the financial side. So it was like, okay, they knew exactly who I was. But for most people, I mean, a lot of the smaller stuff, I did videos on my own guns and my own accessories, and you just kind of start working up that way. I didn't go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars buying guns because I didn't feel, I mean, it would have helped, but I don't think it was necessary. Now, no, Alex, I know you didn't as well, and you're like basically a bigger Jew than I am, because while, let's say, for example, if we get items, you get an item, and then when you're done with it, you actually turn that into another item. So talk about that.
So, I mean, I don't do that quite as often now as I did when I was starting off. When I started the channel, obviously resources were quite slim, so I'd kind of buy something, I'd review it, and I didn't have the money to just keep everything, or else I'd be probably in debt. But I used some of my disposable income to buy products, and some companies would send me product. I would review it, and then I would sell it. So that's typically how I operate with, or how I operated back then. Now I'm dealing with some different optics, more higher end optics and such, and I typically keep those more just because I like to have them on hand for comparison's sake. And if I want to say, it's something is, let's say in the $2,000 optics kind of market, like, well, where does it stack up amongst the other ones? It's kind of an important thing to be able to say, as opposed to going based off of memory and being like, well, I think it's better than the Arkin, or I think it's better than the Athlon Cronus, I think it's better than the new Apex, or based on memory. Because like, really, at that point, let's say at the $2,000 price point, you can't, unless you have it literally on hand on a second tripod right next to it. You can't say really one's better than the other. And even any optic above that price point, unless you have them side by side, you can't really make that comparison.
Okay. Now, did you find that even, let's say, for example, when you're a smaller content creator, did you feel like you had to go out and buy a bunch of stuff, or did companies reach out to you, or especially like on the accessory side? Now, obviously, it's going to be a little bit different on the gun side. And especially since you're in Canada, a lot of the companies don't want to deal with having stuff shipped out to the Canadian market. But did you find that like you basically had to actually go out and buy stuff in order to make content, or was there enough naturally there?
No, I definitely had to buy a lot of product. It wasn't a matter of like, if I was in the United States, I mean, I would still be looking at the same thing up to a certain point. Because I realized at one point when I was reaching out to gun companies, like, hey, could you send? And I was reaching out to some of the bigger ones. I want to say I was probably around 5,000 subscribers. I was reaching out to gun companies, and they would say, okay, yeah, let's get something done together. What's the nearest FFL? Well, that's when I'd say, well, listen, I'm located in Canada. I can get you an FFL. Then there's I Run Guns. It's a website. They'll do the kind of exporting and all that stuff. And 90% of the time, companies would just ghost me, or they'd be like, listen, it's just way too much work, forget it. So I really had to buy almost all my products for the longest time. And yes, optics companies, usually Chinese companies, would reach out to me, or even I'd reach out to them. I'd ask for product. And that's typically how I operated.
But so basically it seems like the issue was not rather your channel size, but rather is the fact that you were located in Canada. And if you were anybody else, or if you were like Steven, or if you were in the United States, then you wouldn't have those issues.
No.
Okay. There you go. So I guess basically it's, I mean, like it definitely helps, but there's absolutely going to be companies out there that are willing to either send you the stuff, or they're going to be able to send you stuff on loan if you're in the United States. Now, if you're overseas or a different place, yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot tougher. But I would say, look, if you want to be a content creator, it's absolutely going to be helpful. And I think so. I'm going to talk about like from the income side of it is, I know you now get a lot of stuff, and I was doing some accounting on my own side. And even though, okay, so for example, like the ad revenues on YouTube, I mean, we could be, you could be making as little as $100 a month, or let's say 1,000 or whatnot. And that's obviously going to vary. And then if your videos get monetized or demonetized, it's not going to cover all of the expenses. But I would say for most successful content creators and YouTubers, the YouTube AdSense revenue is only going to be a small percentage of the overall entire income that somebody gets. So that's personally why, I mean, so when it comes to video monetization, so there's fully monetized. That's when all the companies run ads on it. There is limited monetization when it's only certain companies. And then there's demonetized when it's not eligible for any monetization. Now, the one big thing is a lot of the YouTubers like, oh, I just got demonetized, or this video was demonetized. No, it became a limited monetization. Yeah, you're not making a whole bunch of ad revenue, but like, look, let's call a spade a spade. If you're as big as you are, if you have hundreds of thousands of subs or millions of subs, you're getting hundreds of thousands of views on videos, the YouTube AdSense revenue should be less than 5 or 10% of your entire income stream. So you're not going broke, because these people, if you do a live stream, they're going to get thousands of dollars per live stream from super chats, donations, things like that. Then they're going to get a whole bunch of sponsored content. So somebody, Springfield Armory, and some of these bigger content creators, I mean, their media kits are out there. I mean, they're charging anywhere between $40,000 to $100,000 for a sponsored video. So even if you don't get a video monetized, okay, big whoop. And that's just purely the content creation side of it. That doesn't include all of the product that gets sent to you, either product that you ask for or product that just basically, if you have an address on there, product is just going to show up at your door whether you asked for it or not, because companies know who you are. They're hoping that you're going to review it. I'll give you a scenario from one of the companies that encouraged me to do a YouTube video. They were launching a gun. They've always been known as one of the makers of Gucci Glock accessories. They've done some Gucci Glocks in the past, and they were launching their new gun that they wanted to break in. But they didn't have the marketing budget to pay creators $40,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 in order to get dedicated coverage. So what they did was they sent out guns that, let's say, cost them $1,000. They sent them to a whole bunch of creators, just hoping that someone's going to be like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. Let me actually do a video on that. So they sent guns to Donald Trump Jr. They sent guns to a couple of big, I think it was like one of the Kardashians. Like they sent guns to like big Leonardo DiCaprio or somebody else. And then they sent guns to like Demo Ranch, all of these guys. And lo and behold, some of it actually made sense. And when you're talking about like a large influencer, hey, you know what? We might take a risk by sending $1,000 item, but if they like it, we might get hundreds of thousands of dollars in publicity and press. So to them, it was absolutely worth it. So even us as these, I would say we're micro influencers at this point. We're not nano, but we're micro. So anywhere, let's say 100. Steven is, I would say, a small to mid-size content creator since he is over 100,000. But it's like by this point, I mean, like we are getting companies reaching out to us and sending us stuff. Everything from optics, accessories, chassis, stocks, bipods, tripods, all of that type of stuff. And it adds up. So let's put it this way. I mean, like, if I count like the 4 years of being a content creator, I would say it's easily right now over 6 figures of stuff that I got between the scopes and I did get some free guns, the accessories, let's say, for example, barrels, all of that stuff. It's basically there. Now, I don't sell any of it, but here's the thing. If I needed to make money, I could easily sell this stuff and actually liquidate it and actually have it. And so I can't necessarily say that it's like the channel's not profitable. I mean, yeah, I might not have the YouTube checks. I might not have like any of that type of stuff, but I might not have the YouTube checks or any of that stuff. However, if I needed to, I can absolutely sell a bunch of the stuff that I got, even taking a little bit of a loss on it, but it's definitely profitable from that perspective. And things are only basically getting bigger and bigger. I mean, just like, go ahead, Daddy. What's your take on this?
I am way too tired. I have a sore throat. I feel like crap, but I'm way too tired for this. Somebody I won't say is texting me, and who is watching, and it's adding to the fun because they're, it's like you're saying like you're micro, you're mid size, and obviously there's some innuendo that can be made from those analogies you're making.
I did not have any intentions of going there.
Anyway, yeah, my wife says the same thing about me.
You're the only one that thought that, Steve.
Oh, you know me. But
and hey, and you weren't here when we were making the ball jokes.
Ball jokes or bald jokes? People
ball
make
jokes
about me, so, yeah.
No, it wasn't about you. But if you were
really?
here,
Wow,
we would
that's
make bear ball
surprising.
jokes.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
Wait, hold on.
All my friends
if
from church
Alex
are probably
is
watching
a
this, including the
bear,
pastor, I'm gonna be
if
defriended
Alex
for life.
if Alex is a bear and Steven eats bear balls.
Don't ask what goes on after a while.
Normally I'd probably go there, but I feel like I just don't feel like talking about it that much.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a subscriber only pay-per-view of SHOT Show when we get like an Airbnb and like we're gonna get together one of those nights and the conversations that go on there.
Well, as long as we don't record the mud wrestling.
It could end up causing serious catastrophic life issues for me. But and yeah. Anyways, you were rambling on about something about money, but
I was basically saying that at this point we're getting a whole, like, while we may not be getting the checks from companies in order to do sponsored content, we certainly get enough free stuff, free accessories that definitely needs to be taken into account into the equation that we are getting compensation from being on YouTube.
Jesus, you should work for the IRS saying those kind of words. We're taking compensation through product samples. Ooh, I don't even want to.
I don't think it's taxable unless you sell it, though.
Well, technically,
it depends on your.
Aren't you the tax collector in Canada? You should know.
In Canada, he is.
I used to be, but I'm no longer with them.
There you go.
To be a very, very efficient tax collector.
I hate tax collector. I hate the IRS. They're the dirtiest POSs in the world. Anyway,
we're almost. We should have a Steven meter, like when he's gonna basically he builds up, and then he just goes off on everybody.
Build up. You're gonna make my throat hurt. You're gonna be all riled up, and I won't be able to talk. Okay, how much profit, actual cash profit, like money profit, Alex, have you brought in, and how many years have you been doing YouTube?
Okay, so I guess let's talk about like the income side of it. So besides the YouTube ad revenue, all that stuff, I think that like a lot of the content creators are absolutely going to be monetizing their presence. I think number one, we have our own brands. We are building stuff up, and I mean, we're not Mr. Beast and we don't have our own candy bars or things like that, but there's definitely pathways to earning money off of being on here. So Alex, go ahead, since you are selling your masterclass on how to be a YouTuber.
Okay, so I don't actually have a master class, but in terms of monetization, right now, I'll give you guys the straight up numbers. Keep in mind, these are Canadian dollars. So,
oh, sorry, I'm going to interject for a sec. Chris, I know, CloverTac, I know you're in the chat and you're very well into this. If you want to pop on, just let me know. I'll send you the link and you can pop on and we can discuss this as well. Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
So in terms of monetization, in terms of finances, so my channel brings in about $2,000. And in kind of November, December brings in maybe 2,200, 2,300, maybe 2,500 Canadian. So multiply by 75%, and that's basically what I'm getting in USD. Now, every penny that my channel has ever brought in has been just thrown back into the channel. I never spent. Now I'm at a point. Maybe 3 years ago, I was taking out of my other full-time job and putting into this. Probably as of at least 3 years ago, I'm only using what I make out of YouTube AdSense. So it's not really, but in terms of profit. So yeah, I guess you could kind of look at it that way. But I'm always just buying new guns, buying ammunition, and it costs a fortune. There's no like money left over. Money left over gets used. Otherwise, it's not really of any use. So I mean, I could be declaring a profit, but I'd rather spend it on growing a channel. Also, what I've been doing is I've been marketing, using the channel. Probably what a lot of people should be doing is using the channel as, in some sense, marketing agency for yourself. So, like I've done affiliate links, and I keep in mind the products I review that I recommend are only products that I choose to. So if I'm reviewing something and I'm saying it's good, I've decided, I already know generally it's a good product. So that's why you're probably going to not see too many horrible reviews on my channel. If I'm working with, let's say, a company, if I'm just buying my own stuff and I say whatever it is. But if I'm working with a company, they're typically, my agreement with them is that it's going to be recommendable. Otherwise, I just don't produce any content. So that's kind of how I operate with companies. But yeah, otherwise I'm using the revenue from the channel right back into it. So one thing that I decided to do to add to revenue to the channel, and kind of as I mentioned earlier, is kind of to be my own marketing agency, but for myself. I realized that affiliate links, they don't pay very well. In terms of money from affiliate links, I make $100 a month from affiliate links. And that's from the links in the descriptions below. If you're looking at picking up this optic, blah, 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 blah. Those are what you're seeing, and they do not pay unless you have like a extremely, like a huge channel. They don't bring in anything. So if you're wondering, oh well, he's got affiliate links. Well, they grant affiliate links to everybody and their mother. It's not indicative of a biased review. It just means we're kind of hoping that whether you like the video or not, whether you like the product or not, if you click on the link, at least we'll get a tiny commission, if so. So I decided, especially for Canada, because we're very different from the United States. You guys have massive amounts of competition. Whenever you guys see a product that's like $400 in the States, the markup in Canada in terms of exchange rate should only be 25%. But what we're seeing is double the prices, actually over double the prices, which is why it's different. So I realized, there's a gap in the industry in Canada for affordable optics, which is what my channel used to be called, affordable optics and rifle reviews. And when I found one, a company sent me an optic, specifically Discovery, with their Discovery EDPRS. And I realized in Canada, these sell for $560. Well, actually, right now, $580. And I realized, wow, there's nothing to compare with this other than the Arkin, which realistically, if it wasn't for the overinflated, the feed across the border, the distributor fee in Canada, the retailer fee, all these people putting their hands on the pot, inflating the price, it would be at a comparable price point. So that's why Canada is very different. While what I'm doing with Discovery is I'm importing and I'm reselling directly. There's no additional hands in the pot to inflate the price. So that's why I decided, you know what, I could market this and I can make a profit from it. Canadians would gain, you know what, get a great quality optic, lifetime warranty, ED glass, 10 mils per revolution, 36 mils of internal adjustment, basically a full featured optic at a very reasonable price point. So I started retailing that. I started retailing Sunray carbon fiber tripods, which also, if you don't know, they are very much on par, the same level with a lot of the other big company tripods that you'll see that are marketed by like Vortex, Athlon. It's really a matter of branding. So Sunway Photo is a manufacturer, and then let's say I just import them and sell them. I could brand them as myself and then have retailers, you know, retail them. But then I'd be getting a profit margin. The retailer's getting a profit margin. That's why they're better priced typically than you'd see from, you know, the bigger companies. Anyway, I think I've spoken a lot. So I've made a fair amount of money with that so far in the Canadian market.
Okay. So, and I will say kind of like I know Steven is probably, if he was listening, he would say, Alex, you're full of BS. And that just means you don't know what you're doing on the affiliate marketing side, because it means that you're not doing enough on the affiliate marketing side, because Daddy over there is knocking it out of the ballpark on the affiliate marketing side right now.
Yeah, and you know that's why I think next year could be the year I break even, maybe even make a profit. 7th year on Bullets4Bucks.
Yeah,
because just we'll see. But so he's never made a profit, is what I heard.
Me? Never made a profit? Well, I'm not accepting a profit. If there's money coming in, I am choosing not to like put some aside for profit,
But
because
you ain't gonna raise a family on $1,800 a month USD anyway. I mean,
well, I have another
it's not
full-time job,
living.
so I
Right,
have another
it's not
full-time
living.
job. The
You've
whole
never
thing I'm
made a
doing
profit.
is I'm basically using my full-time job for my family, paying for the house. The YouTube channel is strictly to grow the YouTube channel and to buy guns that I want. I want something. It's more of a matter of, okay, well, what have I blown the budget this month? Okay, maybe I can buy it this month, or maybe I'll just wait next month.
Okay.
Alex, I you know I like you. I respect you. I'm not saying it.
What's coming next? What's coming next?
No. I wasn't saying what I just said to like dig on you, because I've never made a profit. Like truly, I was saying like I'm just trying to make the point that this is not like, if your gun tubing is not like something that like you would choose to make money. If it was like you choose something you love, but you're not, it's not something you're like, oh man, like how can I make a business to make money? Let's do gun tubing. Like for most people, unless they maybe have a massive unfair advantage in the space already, it's just like crazy. It's a marathon for sure.
And for the longest time, I was looking at it like, if I put my hours based on how much I made, you know, I've been doing this for what, 5-6 years. I would have been better off working minimum wage, the same amount of hours, and I'd have and I could buy whatever I bought and have money to spare. I mean, I still wouldn't have. I still lost a lot of time with family. I've been putting like between 30 to 35, sometimes 40 hours a week. In addition to the 40 hours a week I already do my full-time job. So like there's a ton of hours put in, and is there a lot of money to show for it? No, but you get to, you know, meet some like the most interesting people in the industry. I get to go to SHOT Show. And what's really neat about SHOT Show, and you know, meeting people in the industry, is the gun industry is an industry that's so attacked. It makes it so that only people who are really passionate about it are actually in there. Like you look at the automotive industry, yeah, there's a lot of passionate people, but it's also filled with a bunch of people that are literally just, I got 2 more years until I can retire, and I have stopped giving a shit 30 years ago, you know. Whereas us, it's not like that at all. Not that I've seen it.
I think there's a potential. There is a potential, and like any business might take 1 to 5 years to make a good profit. I understand that. So there, you know, it's not completely unreasonable to see that in YouTube, but like there is potential. If the lightning hits you, I'm just kidding. But like there is potential that your channel explodes, or whoever's channel explodes, and you make back massive amounts of money that would be equivalent to $100,000 a year for all those years that you made nothing. That is possible. I've been talking to a guy that's what's happening to him essentially right now. It's just very difficult, and it's a long haul
Right.
to get there.
So I am going to throw a wrench into this one. So we're going to bring Chris on, CloverTac. He's very well connected in the YouTube space, an awesome content creator as well. And we'll get his take on it. But what I'm going to say is that, so Alex, I know, so for me right now, this is a full-time gig. I know it's a full-time gig for Daddy. But what I am going to say is that Alex, if you quit your full-time job and you're forced to concentrate on this, for full-time, it would absolutely be profitable for you. And then the other aspect I will say, so I absolutely concur and agree that the first 3 to 4 years of pure YouTube derived stuff, more likely than not, you are going to be running at a net loss, not accounting for the free stuff that you're going to get along the way. And there's a lot of people who are significantly better at getting free items and let's say parts, accessories, and all of that stuff from companies. I guess another friend of ours, Mr. Derek, so kind of like he gets more free shit than Daddy does, but his channel is right now 1/20th the size of his, if that, 1/50th the size of that now.
You should see this guy at SHOT Show. It was like, so what did you leave with?
Well, we're gonna get to that one. But so here's the thing, though. I would say it's what we're neglecting to say is that we need to be on YouTube. So if we look at YouTube in isolation, I would say, yeah, we can easily say that our YouTube stuff is losing money. However, what we didn't take into account is all of the opportunities and the revenue that we got because of us being on YouTube, because we're able to leverage our platform on YouTube into other stuff. So that would be, hey, you have an email list. You can work with companies offsite. You can consult for companies, which some of you have actually done that. You can charge for that. There's other influencer programs which are accessible only once you have a platform. And so, for example, in my case, it's like I couldn't keep out of it and stay in the thing, but I actually launched a marketing company, and now I work with good brands to help connect them to creators. And none of that would be possible if it wasn't for being on YouTube. So I'm going to bring Chris on. I would ask you ordinarily, oh, hey, look, I'm going to bring 2 people on. So I am going to bring on Chris. Hello, sir.
Hey, apologies for the camera thing, but
no, you're quite good. I'm really glad that you're here because I value you as an awesome resource to the community, and I'm glad to call you a friend. And then we're also going to bring on the product, I would say the product whore, the guy who definitely gets more hits above its pay grade, Mr. Derek, Northwest Guns, that despite having a tiny ass channel, is somehow able to get a whole bunch of free stuff and gear. So thank you both for joining us. And this is almost like, so Michael, you're asking about like what's SHOT Show like, or like what are some of the outtakes. So when the 5 of us, and there was Ryan and Karchark, were in that Airbnb and some of the conversations that went on.
Oh, Jesus. Alcohol was involved. Let's just leave it. Let's say that at first.
All right. So, Chris, I wanted you to answer this question because, and I'm going to read it out loud. So Michael asked this, you answered. So the question was, why does YouTube demonetize GunTubers so much? Is that, so in my take, is this actually true? Or are we just divas?
We're divas. Was it true more so? Was it more true once upon a time than it is now? Yes. But ultimately, um, I've got an issue when folks point the finger at YouTube, and it's all YouTube's fault, right? YouTube's clearly got. Um, okay, let me back up. They've clearly got a playbook. They've clearly got their rules of engagement, whatever, right? They've got their policies, they've got their terms, they've got their stuff. The vast majority of creators, and I'm not just picking on the GunTuber space here, it's everybody. It's YouTube. Started out, kicked in the nuts, cat videos, whatever. People just uploading, filming some content, uploading. No thought, no technique. It continues to this day to be that way. That the vast majority of people, you just want to go out, you want to shoot your guns, you want to upload them to YouTube. Sadly, um, firearm related content as well as a lot of other content on YouTube. There's nuances there. There's certain policy, mines, if you will, potholes that you've got to know are there. You've got to try to avoid. You've got to warn other people. You have a vast amount of ignorance, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Call it uneducated if you want. That goes on in the creator space at large. You don't believe me? Look at Think Media with Sean Cannell. Look at Roberto Blake. Look at Daryl Eves. Look at some of these overall creator gurus that seemingly prey on the newbie people that don't know anything, right? There's a reason they're huge channels and they sell their master classes on being this big YouTuber and everything else. Is because there's that many people out there that don't know, right? So back to, I guess, getting back to the original thing here. When you don't know, and also when you're not looking at it from the proper perspective, and when there's ambiguity, it's a very complex thing. Then it can seem like YouTube is maybe picking on us. But I can tell you, and of course you know this to be true. We've had many conversations. I can film a video, upload a video. I don't worry about yellow at all. And that's another thing I got to point out, I guess, here is because you'll hear YouTubers say, and boy, do we ever like to gin up the drama, right? So we're going to say whatever, like, oh, they're coming for our guns. How many times do you hear that a day in a video? They ain't coming for our guns. Come on. They're gonna try to restrict them in every backdoor way they can possibly restrict them. Don't get me wrong, but they're not that stupid. Anyway, same thing. And so by saying demonetized, it sounds horrible and it sounds bad, and it ends up emotion and drama, and the average viewers out there going, oh, they demonetized whatever's channel or whatever's video. And in reality, it's limited ad, which means that it did not comply completely with policy. And because of that, certain advertisers were not willing to advertise on that video. So, do you want to live in a world where advertisers are forced, right, to advertise on a video? You've got to ask yourself that question. And if you look at if you own your own business, which I have, you've got to look at it as, from that perspective, would you want to be forced? And I think most people would answer that no, right? If we love liberty and freedom, and if we love capitalism, then we've got to answer that question no. And if we answer that question with a no, then it's in the advertiser's hands. It's technically not YouTube's fault as to whether or not they're going by what the advertisers want. And it is also, people have to understand the ecosystem of YouTube, right? The viewers are part of that. The creators are part of that. And the advertisers are part of that. It doesn't work without that trifecta, right? And YouTube walks a tightrope between all of those avenues. They want to get the type of content viewers are watching the most and craving the most and whatever in front of those viewers. That's why the algorithms are viewer driven, right? That's why your viewer habits are so important, or for creators to know viewer habits are so important, right? They want creators to be able to have the freedom, if you will, to create the content that keeps those viewers engaged on the platform and doing the things and spending their time here, so that they can sell advertising to, you know what I mean? Um, sell advertising on the platform to those companies that want to advertise. So they've got to make multiple people in multiple sectors of that ecosystem happy. And just like anything, if I try to run my channel pleasing everybody out there, 100% of people who view, from the first time viewer that will never watch another video again, right, to the person that may be a YouTube channel member spending $50 a month with me with super chats and everything else, right? Those are two totally separate types of people, and there's no way I'm going to be able to please those two 100% of the time. This is not going to happen, right? So I've got to end up picking my battles and worrying about the things that actually matter. And so that's where you're kind of at with this. But once upon a time, we seen mass demonetizations. We've seen even worse, right, than the whole actual mass demonetization, where you get pulled from the partner program. We've seen that. We've seen channels go bye-bye. We've seen channels get deleted in the past. Lots of them, like pre-cough, this was going on pretty regularly. It's not really a thing anymore. And especially with all of the newer channels that have come on board, there's just so many channels that have come on board since all the lockdowns and everything. People bored and don't have anything to do or whatever, right? And they're like, "Oh, I'm at home. I'm doing this anyway. I'm shooting in the backyard, or I'm going to the range every day. Might as well turn on a camera," or whatever the case may be. Or maybe they have nefarious motives for doing it, right? They're going to try to game the system and get whatever they can from the industry and suck it dry and move on. Who knows? But either way, there's been an influx of GunTubers, but at the same time, there's been a decrease of what some would consider nefarious activities on the part of YouTube. So that right there shows you that they're not in it out to get us. They're just trying to perform that balancing act more than anything.
Makes sense. So I guess what can you say about, let's say, for example, when we were at SHOT Show and then everybody all of a sudden got channel strikes for a certain type of content, and people start screaming, hey, they did this on purpose. They knew every big YouTuber is going to be at SHOT Show, and they decided to shut down the industry. How can you say that YouTube is not anti-gun in that case?
Well, okay. So my first question is, when you say, how is YouTube not anti-gun? I would ask you to define YouTube, right? Because the first thing that has to be done is we've got to, if you've got an enemy, you have to identify that enemy, right? Good Lord, go look at history and some of the pickles that we have been in and currently are, I think, because of that, because of not being able to define that characteristic. So if you view YouTube as an enemy, then define that for me. Who's YouTube? Is it the tens of thousands of rank and file reviewers and low tier employees? Is it the department heads, right? Is it the team leaders? Is it the entire teams? Is it the executives, right? Like, tell me, because if you think top to bottom that thousands and thousands and thousands of people are all colluding and out to get you, then have fun with that, wearing that tinfoil hat. I mean, that's all I can tell you. You're more than welcome. It's a free country, and you're more than welcome to think that. But I can't get into that type of a conversation with you, because that's starting from a premise that I 100% absolutely believe is just ludicrous to even start from. So if you see YouTube, the company, as from the digital, the AI, the algorithms, the infrastructure, right, to the human element, the employees, the department heads, the team leaders, the executives, as the complex company that it is, right, then it gets a lot harder to try to narrow that down, right? Are there elements within YouTube that are anti-gun? 100%. I would not dare sit here and tell you, with that many employees at play, that many humans at play, it does not exist. I can tell you from my experience have I met any at any significantly higher level that can really affect mass change or mass deletions or mass demonetizations on the platform at the click of a button, let's say? No, I've never met a single solitary one that was that way. And that's not to say that everybody that I know that I have met at YouTube is pro gun, right? Or a firearm, or even a firearm owner, or even really, there's some people that don't even like them, right? But they realize they realize the educational value of YouTube.
Mhm.
They realize that there are millions upon hundreds of millions upon hundreds of millions of firearms in this country. They realize that people are using them every day for a variety of reasons, right? Legal reasons too,
Yep.
on top of that. And that education and things that are offered on the platform is of value, even though they personally don't partake. I don't really like them, whatever the case may be. That's my experience.
Yeah.
But with the rank and file low tier reviewers and stuff like that, can you get they're making a, what am I thinking? What's the word? They're making a virtue signal or something, right? They're virtue signaling by, maybe flagging the video as limited ad that shouldn't be. Yeah, that absolutely. I got no proof that that's going on, but you would be, it would be a really hard stretch to say that with the thousands upon thousands of
Right.
reviewers and employees, that doesn't happen, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess if you really want to talk about it, somebody really brings up the point, well, YouTube is anti-gun. I would say if YouTube truly was anti-gun, they could easily get rid of all the gun content on there, and they can write in their community guidelines and in their rules that says we do not want to have any firearms related content on this platform like TikTok does in the rules. So
Aside from maybe gaming, they could comment for like gaming, like virtual, right? They can put a caveat for that. But even then, if they put that in play and they clicked some buttons, and YouTube does have the power, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
If YouTube wanted GunTubers gone, and I can't really elaborate too much on how I know this, but if YouTube wanted GunTubers gone, they could literally change a few lines of code, click a few buttons, and it's done. Now they're going to catch a bunch of virtual, gamers, movies, things of TV, entertainment, things like that. They're going to get stuff caught in the crossfire. Don't get me wrong, but if they wanted us gone, they could absolutely do it. I mean, in an instant, they could do it.
And so Chris is not bringing it up, but I'll bring it up. So basically what YouTube does, and it's the same reasons why on a live stream, we basically say when we have a company come on, do not handle a firearm. So constantly, Google runs what's called Google Vision AI. And any items you have on your stream, it can automatically detect what those items are. And it knows exactly what it is. And it's smart enough to know that, hey, as soon as you pick up a firearm, it knows that you're handling it and it's going to shut it down. So they can easily just say, hey, we're going to flag and remove automatically every single video where there is a firearm or picture of a firearm or whatever in the stream. And they can do that.
They could get it wrong. I mean, it's not 100%. You can hold up a picture, a cutout, a cardboard, an airsoft. I mean, a part I've seen for people showing slides, which should be okay with components. I've seen people hold up uppers, that aren't actually firearms. And then I've seen the reverse happen. I've seen a lot of creators that go, oh, I do it all the time. I hold firearms up all the time. I've never had a problem. Well, that's great. Like, you can speed up and down the interstate your entire life and never get a ticket, never get pulled over, but I may not be so lucky. So just because people get away with it doesn't mean that, everybody is going to. The same reason that, just because you should be able to get away with parts and components doesn't mean you're going to be flagged with it. But yeah, going back more, and I don't know, maybe this is where you were going, but the issue, people say we can't show guns on live stream. YouTube, they're communists. They won't let us show guns on live stream. Stop for a minute and think about why they don't. it has nothing to do with us. It has zero to do with us. It has to do with the buffoons, the morons, the idiots, the mentally ill people out there that
Mhm.
take firearms and do stupid stuff online and decide they're going to stream it on YouTube.
Exactly.
They're not that part of the policy has no reflection on us. Does it affect us? 100% it affects us, which sucks. But it was instituted having nothing to do with us. So, what is the fix for that? There's been some ideas proposed actually for showing things on live stream. I don't know if you guys have ever watched content from doctors and lawyers, right? But there are some channels that are doctors and lawyers that have a certification that shows up under their video that says, hey, this person is a licensed medical
Okay.
physician,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. There's been some things proposed that, if you hold training certifications, you've been a trusted channel, you haven't had community strikes, there's a list of criteria. And this is in a very early proposal stage, right? But there's been some proposals made of can we I don't know, verify is not the word, give credentials, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Where those people, there's a flag put on their channel that says this person's okay to do live stream and hold guns.
Nice.
So, will it ever happen? I can't tell you. YouTube's got so many things. They're constantly upgrading the platform and working on these features and doing this and doing that. We're a small part of their ecosystem, a very, very small and quite insignificant, honestly, portion of their ecosystem. Yeah. So if we get any of their time, and we have in the past got what I would consider a lot of their time on some issues, but if we get any of their time, it's a blessing, quite honestly. Because again, they could just throw us under the bus,
Yeah.
And
and I will say, so I mean, like YouTube, like there are definitely platforms out there that reach out to us and we're like, hey, we would love to have more gun content and we're never going to restrict you from this and that and so forth. And generally it's like, okay, like it's great in theory, but it's almost like when everybody went over to Parler from Twitter, and then there's the Truth Network, and then there's Gab and something else. And it's like, okay, well, what happened to those? It's like, we're all back on Facebook, we're all back on Twitter, we're all back on YouTube anyway, because that's where everyone is to begin with. And right. I will say, so like, for example, like on Rumble, we do have like, so this is the first time ever streaming to Rumble, and we had like between 6 and 10 people watching the entire time, which is like, I'm like, wow, this is actually awesome. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like, that's nice. But generally speaking, it's like, I think like when we try out these third-party platforms, nothing ever tangible results out of it, because it's like YouTube and Google, they're the behemoths. They have it there. Everyone's going to go on Google. And let's put it this way. YouTube is the number 2 search engine that's owned by the number 1 search engine. And it's like, you're going to have your videos show up on Google search results versus if you're on another platform, probably not. Not immediately there. Yeah. All right. So, Chris, how about this? And we'll start wrapping up with this one because we've been on for almost 2 hours. Besides YouTube ads, how can, and I know you network with a lot of content creators, how can somebody who wants to be a GunTuber help subsidize or help possibly generate money from being in this industry without having to, let's say, wait 4 or 5 years till their channel really blows up,
right?
And they can start charging Springfield Armory tens of thousands of dollars to make a video.
Wow, like how much time you got, right? We need well, first of all, I mean, we need to set something up probably and get I know we've talked about it, maybe get a full show and really dissect and deep dive into some stuff. So you guys were talking earlier on here about, and then it was just us, so I guess I'll run everybody else off, so my apologies for that. But you were talking about, the big channels and, and then how the smaller channel, forgot who it was, you brought him in, he spoke for a little bit there, is able to, be able to get product in hand from companies really well and that sort of stuff. So it's not really a secret, I don't think. And for for a lot of folks out there, especially introverted folks that don't get out of the house much, which unfortunately tends to be content creators. Um, it's sort of like trolling the bars to pick up chicks in a way, right? Okay, so you can have a lot of money, you can dress nice, you look the part, right? You've got the fancy car, you've got the bling, you've got the Rolex, you've got the nice suits, right? And you've taken all the Andrew Tate courses or whatever it might be, and you know just the right words to say,
Or
and
Ty Lopez courses on confidence,
right,
knowledge.
and you walk in there and you get the hottest chick in the bar, right? That could happen. Um, but then there's another route to go, and you hit on the number one word on that is confidence. So I have found that if you are a smaller channel, whether that's starting out or whether you're a few thousand subs, a few tens of thousands of subs, whatever. First of all, realize subs doesn't matter nearly as much as what people want to put
Mhm.
into them, and a lot of the marketing people, especially the younger crowd, or younger marketing people that are starting to come in, are really understand that. Some of the old people, not so much. The older marketing people, but um, so knowing that, like, how do you leverage that? Okay, you first of all, it's confidence, right? You need to know what you do, and you need to know what value you can bring to that company. You need to genuinely be interested in helping that company, which, in my opinion, is the role of a content creator and an influencer. Insert your word here, whatever it might be. You think of yourself as. What value do you bring to them? What can you offer to them, right?
Mhm.
Because why would they work from you if there's nothing in it for them? It has to be a mutual relationship. And then there's the other key word I want to hit on is relationship.
Yeah.
Um, there are friends I've got in the industry that I've never received one single product from them. I've never seen one dime of sponsorship or mid-roll ad money or anything else. Why? Because while I think their products are okay, otherwise we probably wouldn't be friends because I'd
Yep.
be talking about how bad their product was, right? It's not a good fit for my channel and my audience, or at least not at this time, or we really haven't found an avenue to try to work it in, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't talk to them every show. That doesn't mean that every now and then may not have a question about YouTube I may be able to help them with, or another creator that I can turn them on to that may be a better fit, or whatever the case may be. So even though I don't have, you know, anything I can gain much from that relationship, at least not now, it's worth having that relationship and making sure it stays solid just in case. Now,
Yep.
if that's a relationship or a company that does have products, well, that's where you start to foster that. They get to know who you are, right? And then once you become a friend and they see that you're as passionate about their products as they are, you like their products as much as them, you can talk about their products. I spent this weekend at a gun show with a company, like a legit gun show, not a trade show, with a company. And when they went to the bathroom or they walked around the booth, I worked the table talking about all the products. And about the only thing I couldn't talk about or answer with those products was the prices, right?
Yep.
It's like, yeah, I don't got the price. I don't know that. Like, I don't know the MSRPs on everything or whatever. But I can tell you about all the features. Most of them I've had trigger time on and everything else. And I could talk just as good a game as a rep for that company, a sales rep for that company would be able to do. Again, aside from money. So, when they see that, that fosters that personal relationship, no matter how big you are, right?
Yeah.
And then, uh, you get to a point where you can put on that hat. Now, when you talk about diversifying your revenue, there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money on the table. Um, so, foster confidence, approach, foster that relationship. Once it gets to a certain point and you've worked with product, you have established a repertoire of I do what I say and I say what I do. You send the product, I work with it. I hate the free product saying free, using free. Try not to ever say to a company, send me free product. Like, that's a cheap Chinese knockoff Amazon thing that they're going to send you, maybe is working with free product. But as far as the firearm industry, you're looking for product to work with, right? I'm looking to work with some. I want to
Yep.
work with some of your product. Work with, not free. right? Not send me. You can say send me, but follow that up to send me this to work with,
Yep.
or do work with, or test, or whatever. Um, and then once you've kind of built that out, and you've got that friend, then you've got the money thing. Understand that companies spend dollars for advertising. Now, would a company rather put yourself in their shoes? Would a company rather spend money on an unknown channel over here, right? Their advertising dollars, whatever that cost might be, with an unknown channel over here that they really never dealt with before, blah, blah, blah. But hey, man, they've got 100,000 subscribers, right? Or would they rather deal with the 20,000 subscriber over here that they know this person's going to put in the work, know this person is going to mention them, is going to hype them up on the whatever sponsorship deal it is, whether that's a podcast or a live stream or a video,
Yep.
right? And odds are and it's gonna be a little less. Don't get me wrong. You're not gonna get a $10,000 check like the like the big channel gets. You may only get $1,000 check, but it's money, right?
Yep.
Because they're gonna cut a check. The other thing is, remember that all companies are this way. All companies there's so much money sitting on the table during something like a SHOT Show. You have to figure out people, creators, influencers, whatever. Think about this, in my opinion, the wrong way. They think about, well, I'm creating firearm content, and I'm creating a firearm podcast, and I do all these videos. I need to figure out a way to monetize it. Well, how about you look at it another way? Realize there's lots of money on the table, right? And in order to get that money on the table, you have to have buckets, basically, to rake that money off into. And what are those buckets? Well, that's what you've got to figure out. Those buckets could be pieces of content that you create, videos, right, with mid-roll ads. Those buckets could be podcast episodes, right? So instead of looking at, I need to monetize my content, think about it as, I want the money, so I need to create content to funnel the money into. It's kind of a backwards, you get what I'm saying, right? It's kind of a backwards way of looking at it. You're putting the money first. And that sounds bad. I mean, we love capitalism. I hope we love capitalism, right? But
That's why we're here.
it's bad to say that. How many people go, I'm just not in it for the money. I don't like to talk about the money. I don't like. How do you get the SHOT Show? How do you get to NRAM? How do you do all of these things? How do you buy ammo, your range fees, your targets, all of your stuff? All of that costs money, people.
Yep.
Let's not dance around that fact that money makes the world go around. There's nothing wrong with saying, I need money to make all this happen. So I need to make content that then I can package or sell in a way to bring that money in to continue making the content that the viewer gets value for.
Yep. Absolutely.
Otherwise, or the viewers can pay for it. If you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking, oh, companies, they shouldn't do that. Break out the checkbook and write your favorite creator a $1,000 check to cut 2 videos of your choosing.
Absolutely. Well, and I think from one perspective, it's like people don't realize just how long it actually takes to create a good video. I started tracking my time, and for an average, let's say, gun review, it takes anywhere between 20 to 26 to 28 hours all in, from getting the product, going to pick it up at the FFL, doing first impressions, getting some ideas down on paper, then going to the range, shooting it, playing with it, coming back home, creating a idea map or a script for the video, then going back to recording the video, coming back, editing, then publishing and promoting it. It takes a lot of time. So it absolutely does that. But I would also say, it's interesting that you mentioned the relationship aspect to it, because I think a lot of the GunTubers particularly, we're very short-sighted in that, this person works for a company and I have absolutely no intentions or interest in working with that brand. But what people fail to realize is that, if they're not the owner of that company, odds are in a couple of years, they're going to work for a different company. And now all of a sudden, hey,
Yeah.
you have an in at a different company or perhaps
Do
even a
that
different
all the
industry.
time. Yeah.
So I'll even kind of say, I'll give 2 examples. So one of them was I am so like we have the Live Free Armory, the 2011 came out. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh wow, this is actually a pretty cool gun. And I went to check it out at the Palmetto State Armory booth. I'm sorry, the PSA event. And I go to her booth and I'm talking to some guy. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I said, like, hey, I'm interested in this. A guy comes up, he's like, hey, I know exactly who you are. I'm like, wait, you look familiar. Who are you? And it was their national sales
Mhm.
director and marketing manager who just joined the company. And 5 months earlier, I did a video with him when he was the sales manager and sales director for DRD for DRD.
Mhm.
And we did a video on that semi-auto 338. I'm like, wow, I instantly have an in with this company. They know exactly who I am because I built up
Yeah.
that relationship with that person.
That's so awesome. Yeah.
A different one is, so I'm passionate about camera gear. I went to a event in New York City. It was the B&H Build Expo where we had Sony and all the big brands. And recently, and what the camera I'm using right now is a Panasonic. I'm walking to the Panasonic booth, just kind of see what they had. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait, Jeff, what are you doing here? And what it actually was, it was Jeff. It was the former sales director and chief marketing officer for Citron Optics, which I did a video with him, the
Yeah.
SHOT Show. Now he's national sales director for Panasonic.
Mhm.
And
That's
he
pretty amazing.
introduced, and then he
Yeah.
introduced me. He's like, "Hey, introduce me to the PR marketing and PR person for Panasonic." And then he's like,
Yep.
"Wait, I got the right person for you." Takes
Yep.
me over to the next booth over to introduce me to his friend, who is the head of sports optics for Fuji.
Oh, the networking, like that's where the relationships are so amazing, right? With especially with networking, you can forge one relationship and 6 blossom out of that. It's so
Yeah,
amazing. And one of the things, though, let's throw this out there. This I think this is very important. It's what a lot of folks miss. I hear a lot of people. I say, "Hey, y'all going to Shot New Channel, whatever, maybe a few thousand subscribers, something like that." I went to Shot Show. I had, I think, between 300 and 500 the first year I went to Shot.
Chris, I'm gonna let you continue this spot. I'm gonna run. I need to get something real quick. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So I was that anyway. So the he threw me off there, folks. But what was I saying? Where was I going with that? Um, the relationship. Help me out in the chat. Back it up or something. Because he did. He threw me completely off when he said he was leaving. Let's see. I was talking. Oh, Shot Show. How important going to shows are. That's what it was. So no, when you're starting out, and I get it. I ask folks. I say, "Hey, are you going to Shot Show?" And they're like, "Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to go to this." Or I'll say NRAM, or maybe it's Great American Outdoor Show, or maybe it's TriggerCon, or maybe it's, you pick the USCCA show. You insert the industry show right here, and they pussyfoot around and, oh, I don't know, I can't do this and that. You're gonna have to get committed to making the shows. That's where the relationships happen. It's very, very hard to create and forge a relationship virtually online, that sort of thing. You need that face-to-face time. You also need that time with exactly what Slaw was talking about there, in that you need that time with the industry people to understand that the turnover as far as media marketing, any employee, honestly, but media marketing included in that, the turnover is pretty high. And so, by going to these shows, you realize, oh, crap. I knew this person from this company, but they've left and now gone to this company, right? And then you're able to navigate that and figure all that out and keep track of it. So it's a very important aspect as well. But to his point, what he was talking about a second ago, I've been in the same situation, and if you're paying attention, you're able to navigate. I can't tell you the number of times, and it happened most recently. I had a great relationship with the marketing guy with Walther. He left and he went to Taurus. Actually, a lot of people from Walther went to Taurus, but including him. They're pretty much all back now with Walther. So they moved to Taurus. That really strengthened my relationship with Taurus. I had a kind of a relationship, but Taurus is it's a weird company. We'll just say that. Weird company structure, I guess, right? And so with him going over, it's really strengthened my relationship with that. But then when he left Walther, and he left on good terms, and a lot of these people do leave on good terms. When he left on good terms, he was able to say these people at Walther are taking over for me and stuff. And of course, I already knew quite a few people there. I was familiar with who he was talking about and that sort of thing. So I didn't really lose anything at Walther. But then at the same time, that bolstered my relationship with Taurus. Now, when he left Taurus and went back to Walther after a couple of years, I think, a year or two, the same thing happened kind of in reverse, which is these people are taking over, blah, blah, blah. And so, that way you don't lose those relationships. You're just adding to with those relationships, which is a really cool thing. But again, it's very, very hard to do that through email contact. Like, how do you reach out? I want to work with X company, right? Like every creator says, I want to work with X company. How do you know who to contact? And I've seen it over and over and over, even when you're working a show, that people walk into a booth, right? And then we're doing after action, which, we creators, we talk all the time amongst each other. We have our own little pockets and groups and things that we talk in. And we say, hey, man, what happened? What'd you do? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, I went into so-and-so booth, company XYZ, and, they promised me this and they said that. Man, it's been months and I ain't got nothing and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm sitting over here that, like, the UPS truck's backing up every day to my door with stuff and I'm cashing checks. And it's like, and then come to find out, they talked to some sales rep or some distributor that was flown in to handle the booth for them.
Exactly.
They weren't talking to the right person. So, you got to make sure. And again, that's where basically what I guess you were, I don't know if you were listening while I was ranting there or not, Slav.
Importance of going to SHOT Show and then networking opportunities.
Live events,
Oh, yeah.
right? That the importance of that, regardless of your size.
Well, and I would say
forging those relationships is insane.
Yeah, and I would say it's even more critical to go in an event like that when you're a smaller creator, because let's put it this way:
so.
it's like if you're a big content creator, these companies are reaching out to you. They're gonna find you.
Maybe, but I know channels, bro, that it blows my mind. I meet new channels almost every day with folks reaching out to me a lot of times for help or whatever.
Yep.
Like I didn't even know they existed, and they've got 300,000 subscribers. I just talked with one the other day that was 80,000. What am I, like 17? I mean,
but here's the thing,
I'm nothing, right?
Yeah.
But they reached out to me and they had 80,000. And we're blown away that you're cashing checks from companies. You're getting all this stuff for review. How are you doing this? How are you doing this? Right? And I'm like, you're asking me, and you've got 80,000 subscribers. Like, how did you build 80,000 subscribers and not know what I know or not be able to do what I do?
Seriously, I'm guessing are these a lot? I mean, obviously, we've seen like a bunch of channels who've really blown up based on YouTube Shorts, and that definitely. It's like YouTube is throwing a lot of weight behind that. You're getting a lot of publicity on there, and you can get that. But this is, I guess, kind of like goes back to, it's like right now the subscriber count is almost a little bit meaningless, because you can go to a channel that has 500, 600,000 subscribers that they built on YouTube Shorts, but for long form content can barely break a couple thousand views. Right. So it's like to an advertiser,
maybe in a few hundred, but yeah.
But so to a marketer, it's like, it's like you really got to be critical. Like there will be companies out there who are still old school, and they do say, oh, like you don't have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, we don't want to work with you. And then there are smart marketing companies who are like, okay, let's look at the engagement rate. Let's take a look at the content that you've created. And so like, even in my case, so like now I'm doing marketing for a couple of brands. And one of the things we look for, so like the subscriber count almost doesn't matter to me. One of the things that I'm looking for is, especially for a brand that's looking for content, and in order to break in, I would rather have a smaller creator who understands the product, can put together a good quality video, rather than somebody who's big, has a bunch of subs, but doesn't know how to use it. And it's just going to get buried in the feed or whatnot. Because if the company is going to throw marketing dollars behind it, we want people to be able to find good quality content. And that is often why a smaller creator, it's like you might actually even be ahead of the game of a larger creator as well.
Right.
So,
I like
and
James out there. He says, I have 8 subscribers. Pretty sure my mom's one of them. I sure hope she is, because that's how it starts with friends and family. So you need that. That's that guerrilla, talk about grassroots marketing when you're starting out. So that's very important, believe it or
so
not.
Michael had a great
Um,
question. How do you
what's
build?
your just real quick, if you don't mind, the
Yeah.
particular channel I'm talking about with the 80,000 subscribers,
Yes.
and I totally agree with what you just said. That's what was crazy about this one is they do very few shorts,
Wow.
very few shorts. So and it goes back to a confidence game with
Yep.
them, with just you've got to not be afraid to hear no,
Yep.
and you've got to lay it all out there.
Awesome. So this is actually a great question. We're going to start wrapping up on this one. So do I have any behind the scenes stories or shots or how to build relationships there? I would say is, and kind of going back to putting it together, which we discussed a little bit earlier, which was, so if you're a smaller creator, I would say it's critical. And like, so in our Discord group, in our network of creators, it's like, so for example, with Steven and with Alex, I was on their butts for like 2 to 3 years to tell them how important it is for them to actually go out to the show, because in person is when you can build those relationships. So like, for example, like companies get hundreds of emails a day from creators asking for free shit. And it's like, okay, it's like, if you want to be in a delete, if you want to be deleted, just ask for free shit.
Yeah,
Because
a
they get
show
that.
validates you, right? Like they paid thousands, or in some cases millions of dollars as a company to set up at that show. They know what it costs
Yeah.
to get employees to get to that show, for a hotel room, for the travel. They know that. So when you're there as media and you walk into that booth, you've already got a leg up,
Yep.
because just for the fact that you're there in that booth in person, you've put in the money and the time and the whatever to be there, regardless of what your work ethics are.
Yep.
Right? They know you've at least got some skin in the game.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If you go to a booth and you know the name of the marketing manager, the public relations company, you can ask for him by name, and they're not going to hit no, we don't want to meet with you. And they're not going to delete your request right in person.
This is
You'll
true.
always
Yeah.
have the opportunity just to
Yeah.
go there, shake their hands. But the biggest secret to it really is you find a friend that's already working with those companies and you ask them to take you over to that other booth
Introduction. Yeah.
and give you a personal introduction.
Or
That
just coattail hang with that person in the booth. And it's not really like I get what you're saying, but sometimes a little finesse goes a long way.
Oh yeah.
I've seen instances where, and don't get me wrong, like I would 100%, if you said, hey, you've gotten in with this company, I'd really like to talk with them. I'd really like to know. And if we were at SHOT and you told me that, I would say, hell, dude, let's go downstairs right now. Let's go do it.
Yep,
And
exactly.
we'd go down there, and I said, hey, man, this is Max, SlavGuns. He does some great work. I think probably a good fit for his channel's a good fit for your company. And then I'd probably turn around and walk off and say, y'all
Yep.
hammer it out, quite honestly, right? Because that's your business. But simply just by shadowing sometimes can do something. And you shadow somebody that has a relationship with that company, as long as that person don't mind you being present when they're wheeling and dealing, right?
Oh yeah.
And so that gives you a little bit of experience of how that creator finesses a company, right? And wheels and deals, and the words they use and how they communicate. And then the next show,
Oh,
you walk into that booth by yourself and you talk to that same person, provided the same marketing person is there, and you take that same tactic that the person, but you tweak it with your own flair, right? To meet your own content, what you're doing, the theme of your channel, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Yeah,
Have
totally.
it's
Leverage
like
those friendships.
have a media kit, have the confidence, and it's like, here's the thing though, it's like bigger creators, smaller creators, it's like we're all human beings. It's like we're all capable of the exact same things. A lot of the times it is just about showing up and going up there. And when you can show up in person, shake the person's hands, that's going to be one big step up. And a lot of people don't realize, like, so for example, like I've never seen Glock executives just hanging out at the Glock booth or always in meetings or whatnot. But what I can promise you is almost every single show, whether it's NRA or SHOT Show, you will see the entire Ruger executive team going out there and shaking hands with regular people. They're absolutely there because one of our things is we want to. So the people who handle the meetings, let's say talking distributors and things like that, are the salespeople or like the head of sales or whatnot. But the CEO, the CFO, COO, the board of directors, they're all there talking to their customers. They're all there shaking hands. And you might be talking to the owner of the company or the executive of the company, just know who they are. And it's like, and that's the only opportunity you're going to have to do that, because any other time, if you wanted to talk to them, you're going to hit a gatekeeper more often than not. So, Alex said, if you have, like, I can't tell you the number of times that I've taken people over to the Ruger booth and introduced them to the powers that be at those companies. Same thing with smaller companies. And like I said, that's why you build the relationships, not just with the companies, you build the relationships with the influencers, and they will be able to make those introductions. Yeah.
And when you're talking about smaller channels, smaller creators too, something that's often overlooked is, and I get it, I was kind of there too. It's almost a never meet your heroes, because you mentioned Glock. Man, when I got an opportunity to work with the G44 and work with Glock, I was like, oh, and I don't even remember how many subs I had, but it wasn't a ton. It was several thousand, but it was less than 10. I'm almost positive. It was less than 10. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I get to work with Glock, blah, blah, blah. The most unpleasant, crappiest experience working with a company ever, and it was Glock. And I pray every day when there's a press release for a new firearm from Glock that it's not something that I just am dead set and just got to work with, because I was like, I hope they never release anything ever again that I even want to work with, because that experience was so unpleasant. It's just the process, and it was because of the size of their company. They don't care about anything. Like, they don't. They're too big. They don't have to. And I'm using that example and saying that to say this, especially if you're a smaller creator, downstairs at SHOT Show.
Oh, yeah.
And even tucked away in the corners at other shows. Identify the booths where the guys are sitting there and they're being ignored, or the other ladies, right? Are sitting there and they're being ignored, right? Go up and show them a little kindness and a little time, right? Extend to them the courtesy that you would want as a smaller creator for, let's say, bigger creators to recognize you, or other companies, right? Bigger companies to recognize you, and extend that courtesy to them and just talk with them. Maybe you don't pitch that you want to work with their product. Maybe you don't offer to get them on a podcast or anything else, but show interest in their product. Hey, tell me about this. At least that gives them practice in pitching their product, right? And they've gotten some interest out of it, right? But you never know when you do that. Again, whether it's downstairs, tucked into a corner of a show, whatever, you never know when a relationship develops out of that. And then 2 years down the road, that's a much, much bigger company. I've made contacts in downstairs at SHOT Show with companies before that had two SKUs. And nowadays, they've got like 5,000 SKUs. And guess what? I've got access to all 5,000 and every one that they add on to it now. You know what I mean? Because I gave them a chance. I showed them attention. And I thought their products was cool when they had two.
Yeah. Well, I would say the other aspect is, like, so if you're thinking about the smaller brands and the booths that are downstairs, they're probably the companies that are going to be more willing to actually pay you besides the product itself in order to get the coverage, because so it's almost like every relationship that I look at, it's okay. You have like who needs who, or do you both need each other? Let's say if you're a smaller creator, Springfield doesn't need you. Unless it's like Glock doesn't need any of us. But if you go to a smaller booth downstairs, let's say, for example, like we did hammer targets or things like that, it's like we are their hero, because it's like we actually, like, to us, let's say, for example, 20, 30, 50, 100,000 subs is like, I'm still like, I introduce myself like, I have a small YouTube channel, like I only have like 22,000 subs or something like that. And to some people, it's like, oh my God, you have like that many people. Yeah, like in hundreds of thousands of viewers,
Well, yeah,
and all that
I
stuff.
don't. Yeah, I don't get, but maybe 200 or 300 views on a video. But for that company, like
Oh yeah,
200 or 300 views is
yeah,
amazing. I mean, they're looking at if they were demoing their product to 200 or 300 people, and that's what a lot of times as creators in general we lose focus of that.
yeah.
If I'm only getting 300 views on my videos. I've heard creators say that. It's like, have you ever spoke live in front of 300 people? Do you know what 300 people in
Oh yeah.
in a convention hall or something looks like? Like, it's pretty nerve wracking.
Yeah.
But because we have the internet and because we're kind of behind the camera and behind the screens and all this other stuff, we lose sight of the realistic aspect of what that means, right? And that's not impressions, is what you're also missing with that. So yeah, you get 200 or 300 views, but how many people seen the thumbnail
Yeah.
or the title with that name,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
That could
even
be
like,
thousands upon thousands. And for a small company, that's a huge deal. Agree.
well, let's put it this way, like step it up a little bit, even one more notch. Let's not even talk about like 500 subs, but even let's say, for example, you're approaching a bigger company, or let's say you're a bigger YouTuber, and you have videos that can get, let's say, a couple thousand views or something like that. Put it this way. So if you're a business owner and you have your business owner hat on and you have a content creator that comes up and says, hey, here's a question for you. Imagine you are speaking in the middle of Madison Square Garden and the entire garden is filled out and the doors are locked for 30 minutes. And these people are sitting there listening to your push. How much is it? What's the value of that to you as the business owner? And I think everyone's going to go completely crazy. Wow, like you mean I can fill out the Madison Square Garden in the middle of New York City,
Right.
and these people are forced to listen to my speech, and they can't forced to listen to my pitch, and we're not going to leave. Like, how many millions of dollars would somebody pay for that opportunity?
Well, it's also people the perfect demographic too. It's not
Yeah.
random people.
Yeah. And here's
Right?
the kicker. The Madison Square Garden seats 19,500 people. We have videos as content creators that we can put out that get multiples of that if it's a good video and it's longer term views. And that's the value that we can even provide even as micro or nano creators. There's absolutely value in that. Now, to a Glock or somebody big, it's like, okay, well, it almost doesn't matter. But to a lot of these smaller brands, it absolutely is like, wow, that's actually a really, really, really big deal.
Yeah.
And so like
Glock is the bigger brands are typically looking for a really fast hit, right? So instead of a 19,000 slow burn over, let's say, the course of a year, they're looking for 19,000 within a few hours or a day, right? 48 hours tops. A lot of mid-tier companies that I talk with, we usually talk in numbers of 30 days out of a month.
Yep.
Right. So it'd be 19,000 a month, right? And that's, for me, I'm not gonna lie, for me that's a pretty good video. That's a pretty good video. But I don't base it on 19,000 either. Usually my stuff is tailored more toward, when we're talking the money side of things, it's tailored more to buy the 1,000.
Yep.
And so, how many thousand per talking about views or downloads, 1,000 downloads on the podcast in a 30-day cycle, right?
Yeah.
So in all of this, it's where it sucks, because we go back to the question of YouTube demonetizing channels, basically, right? And the answer to, or the follow up to what I just said is almost the exact same answer, in that you've got to know what you're doing as far as content creation. Not only the policies on the platform that you got to navigate and do, but you need to know the business side of it, right? How you propose sponsorships, mid-roll ad spots, how to set a value, an initial value. I see so many people undervalue their channel. I see so many people that do mid-roll ads, or they're trying to put a package together for travel to SHOT Show or travel to this show or something, and they're sharing it with me, and we're back and forth, on, what I think. And they're too low. Their initial thought is, the price is, their ask is just always low. And I'm like, you got to ask for more money. And it's like pulling teeth. They're so afraid to ask for any money, right? That when they do ask for money, they ask for too little. Um, and you start to realize that at some point when you think, you know what, I've got a really good fit for 3 companies. So before I blast this out to a bunch of companies that are potential, candidates for
Mm-hmm.
this particular project, I'm going to hit these 3 up and I'm going to say, hey, I'm hitting y'all up early with this. I've got 3, just a select few companies. I'm going to push this out too early. If I think you guys are a 100% perfect fit, if if you want to come on board with this, let me know ASAP. And I use this because I just had this happen with a SHOT Show package that happened
Nice.
Thursday morning that I sent something out. I sent something out Thursday morning to 3 companies. Within 30 minutes of sending that email, I got an email back that said, from one of the companies that said, we're on board, call us, let's discuss it. And
Nice.
within an hour, we had already had the conversation, the commitment was done, and it was a done deal. And what sucks about that is I actually padded my asking price. Again, I used my own advice that I'm giving you now, is value your
Yep.
voice and don't undersell it. And I did pad it, but if them as quickly as they jumped on that, I know without a doubt I undersold it. You know what I mean? I didn't charge enough. I still
Yep.
should have charged more. Now at the end of the day, I'm happy with it, and I learned. I got money in my pocket. We're going to accomplish what we need to accomplish, and I know next time that I need to pad it even more. Right? You live and you learn. But don't be afraid. The first thing is don't be afraid of the word no, to the point that you don't get out there and ask. Because
Absolutely.
if you never ask, you're never going to get it. You're never going to get a yes. You have to
Yep.
ask. And unfortunately, no's are a part of that.
Absolutely. And it's like sales 101. It's like the faster you can get for all the no's is the quicker you're going to get to a yes. And I guess even kind of like wrapping it up, I think so when I started in financial services, one of the quotes that was given to us is, you have to, in the beginning, when you're starting out, you have to be willing to work like no one wants to, so that years down the line, you can live like no one can. You have so much opportunities, you have so much stuff, you have so much potential in this industry from the monetization aspect and what it can do for you, but you have to be willing to sacrifice. And if you can work a little smarter, it's absolutely an amazing opportunity.
You
You're gonna
have
get
to work smart. I know so many creators, and I'm not going to mention any on this show by name, because I don't want it to sound the least bit derogatory, because it's not. But I know so many creators that they work their butts off. As far as working hard, they haven't.
yes,
They're putting in 180% as far as the blood, sweat, and tears working hard. The problem is there's no element of working smart. If they would work 70% hard and 30% smart, they would accomplish more. So, valid point when you said, the smart thing. Don't think it's just about cranking out videos as fast as you can. And I spend every waking hour editing and doing videos. You need to be thinking about things. You need to be
you
learning
got to work on the business.
tactics, figuring out the tactics side, looking at some analytics, playing some strategy. You need to be experimenting, right? All of that stuff is working smart.
Yep.
And if you can get that ratio and that combo down, you can do pretty well.
Yep.
Maybe not blow up and have, a million subscribers or anything like that. But, I think you're a channel. I don't know, where are you sitting on subs? 20K? 20-ish?
22,
Yeah.
22, 4.
So close to where I'm at.
Yep.
I think both of us are a really good example of, you don't have to have the subs, people.
Yep.
Like, you do not have to get off the sub number. Work hard, work smart, focus on those relationships, and everything else will fall into place. I promise you it will. Unless you've got, I guess, if you've got no personality and you're not a least bit of a people person, or
you need to be a people person.
There's some drawbacks, but learn to be a people person when you have to be a people person, if nothing else. You know what I mean?
Or if you can't, find somebody to represent you.
Valid. You're good at that. I'm a one-man thing. And actually I had a conversation this weekend, and it's because of you that I had this conversation.
Okay.
I'm thinking in the next few weeks, and I'm going to try out. I've got a son-in-law. I've got my son. I got my son-in-law. I've got some options for trying to bring in somebody to work the camera
Absolutely.
and getting away from the tripod for a few videos and just see how things play out, and then work on something where I pay them or do something, obviously, compensate. But, and so, because I know you do that, you farm, especially at shows and things, you farm a lot of things out. I'm a control freak, first of all.
Oh, so am I.
I've got to
So am
learn
I.
to, I got to learn to get over that. But then the second of all, like, but you're an inspiration with playing with that a little bit to me, that I'm going to have to play around with that and learn to relinquish a little bit. And as I see some of the videos that get crazy views, and I'm thinking, man, that's just not polished, and the transitions suck, and it's like a one take thing with a bunch of ums and ahs and like no cuts or nothing. And it's like, am I overthinking the perfection in my mind of what my produced in product video needs to be? Am I overthinking it too much? Can I have somebody else film it and it be good enough, right, that it could actually even do better?
Yeah. All right. So there have been a couple of questions on this one, and so I do apologize. I didn't update the title for this for this live stream. So originally I planned, and we discussed a little bit earlier on the topic of pistol braces and how we had the injunction on that. I was hoping, and we were supposed to have a AR manufacturer on the stream, but they weren't able to make it onto this one. So we are going to discuss it next week. However, what this has been so far is a 2.5-hour conversation for anybody who is getting into the GunTuber space and the economics behind the firearms channel. So Chris, hopefully that answers that question.
And basically, I've hijacked it for the last hour.
No, you're good. And we were discussing it anyway. And then we are going to talk 22 ARC next week. I'm going to have a little bit more details on that. But it just, like I said, this is just a really good conversation. And it all spurred by immediately before coming on a live stream in our private GunTuber community, there was a pissy fight between Steven and Alex. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a great conversation to do online. So that's the reason why I wanted to do it, especially since we're getting a little bit more into SHOT Show season.
A little real world. I just, obviously came in late and everything else because I had spent the weekend at the world's largest gun show. And for those that don't know, that's in Tulsa, Oklahoma, every April and November. And I'm tying this into the pistol braces, not monopolizing, I promise. The amount of pistol braces I've seen selling there, micro rody kits with pistol braces, just pistol firearms, like what do you want to call it? Like it was encouraging, right? Like the stay or whatever has went into effect now. And it's like all of those companies that were hurting so bad because they had so much in pistol braces that was up in the air. Like some of that is coming back around for them now, which is awesome to see. Yeah. And people are excited to get back to braces and like, hey, I can start using this again. I'm not a brace fan. I don't like any of them, but that's a personal thing.
Well, I will say that the people who are probably really happy with that are going to be Global Ordnance and Strybog and CZ with the Scorpion.
Oh, and Maxim, dude. Maxim got hammered because of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, they basically sold pistols. I mean, that was the entire premise. I mean, who the heck wants to have a Strybog with a 16-inch barrel? It's like, it's pointless. Or who wants to have a but basically, if it was
I'm a FUD man, so I like that. Especially with that Scar stock, the one with the Scar style stock.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, I like it, dude.
Yeah.
I like it.
Nice.
Especially in 22.
But we will have that conversation actually next week as well. But so my lighting, my extra light there is already dead anyway. So I do want to wrap this one up because we've been on for quite a while, and it is 12:30 Eastern.
Hey, have Chris reach out to me with that last question.
Chris, send me a DM or contact CloverTac on his channel, and
take a look at
definitely address that. And then also go back and watch this one from earlier on where we do address limited monetization and the other one as well. And actually, Chris, do you still do? You did earlier on. You did a live stream, or like there was a channel for content creators. Are you
Yeah.
still publishing to that, or no, or what's the
Not
deal?
really. Not really. For
We should get
years
that going.
for years I did a Thursday night live. That was it had several names over the years, right? But it was a panel of content creators, much like what you were doing here tonight, that
Mhm.
basically talk about the nerdy aspect of content creation from
Yep.
a gun tuber specific perspective, because we face a lot of nuance and stuff that's very
Absolutely.
specific. Um, I moved that because I finally realized that was hurting my channel.
Yeah.
And so I moved that to a channel called GunTuber Academy, which does
That's what it
still
was. Yep.
exist, but I haven't uploaded anything. I've been so busy with the main channel here, right?
Yep.
That this year I started chasing money. This year I made a decision late last year that it's time to start looking at the money aspect of it a little closer. And sadly, that it just takes time to research that, figure that, get all those ducks lined out, and work on that aspect of things. And so that's slipped. Yes, I got to get back to it. Over on the Gun Websites channel, typically we have a similar conversation every Tuesday morning
Okay.
over on his channel. So that's a little something. And that simulcast actually to the GunTuber Academy channel. So if you go over there, you don't have to check out the Gun Websites channel, even though I think that's a great channel. You can do the GunTuber Academy, and then when we go live, it'll pop up over there as well. But I would, the more I talk with you, the more, I love talking. If I spend as much time devoted to doing the actual work of working with the guns and the videos as I did the behind the scenes
Oh yeah.
stuff, I could be a 1,000,000 subscriber channel, I think,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, but this is fun.
Um,
This is like
but I
like
like knowing how the sausage is made, so to
yes.
speak, and I like knowing all the different recipes and
Yep.
what
It's like we
ingredients
want.
to avoid and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
It's like, well, like it seems like we're the type of people like we get as much enjoyment out of figuring out the game as we do winning the game.
Yes, exactly. Like we're the strategist or the,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Almost like the team manager in a
Yep.
way or something, right? And yeah, absolutely love it. But yeah, as more and more people like you, I mean, I think there's a place to get back into that nerd chat maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Something to
Very
think
cool.
about. Maybe 24. Maybe 24 is the year to bring back.
Well, so what I would say
One of
is
those.
that if you get somebody who's a video editor, or you get to start delegating some of the tasks that you're doing, then you're going to have more time to do the stuff that you
Correct.
really want to do.
This is true.
And I will say, so one of the things that I've been working on this entire weekend was, so I signed up for Monday.com and got the pro account so that we can do a lot of the back end stuff that we're doing. We can more automate it and more systematize it so that it is going to free up a bunch more time. I would say a lot of the AI tools are also going to be able to free up a little bit more time on that as well.
Yeah.
So it's it's
Agreed.
definitely interesting. I mean, there's definitely opportunities for that. And yeah, so I mean, kind of talking about like getting somebody to help you out with SHOT Show. So my first thing with Steven and Alex was when we started going to SHOT Show, we're like, okay, well, at the very least, it's like, I'm going to be your camera guy. You're going to be my camera guy, because especially with SHOT Show, depending, like, for example, like I have specialized equipment and stuff that I use only at SHOT Show because it makes things easier to get, because there's unique audio stuff. I have an ultra wide lens, because like basically one of the issues that you're going to run into is that, especially downstairs, because you don't have a lot of space between the booths. If you're taping by yourself, you set your camera on the tripod and you're standing, you're going to have 5 or 10 people walking between you and
They
your
will
camera.
kick it over. They will kick tripods over if you're filming at a show every time.
So
you've got to have somebody at the booth guard your tripod most of the time.
Or
how that kind of works.
you have somebody who's going to be coming with you that's going to stand by the
Able to just
camera
film it.
and prevent the blocking aspect of it. So you definitely need that. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. So I am going to wrap this one up here. We crossed 2.5 hours. A couple of things I still need to do before bedtime. Chris, thank you very much for joining. This was actually very helpful.
Yeah. Always.
Buzz, everybody, Michael, thank you everybody for the super chats. Thank you everybody for popping by. To answer a real question, I did not have any negative feedback in the CZ600 because I don't think those people even knew who I was, which is good. So CZ works through a marketing company. So I didn't get any nasty grams from the marketing company, but then again, I've been asking for a gun for quite a while. 22 Ruger is going to be next time. Michael, that's awesome. That's how you found me for the Ruger product review. So you find us for the content and you stay for the community. And I am blessed to have the community that we built up
I agree.
of truly awesome people, both creators and our subscribers and our biggest supporters.
Most creators think that way, I think. That's
Yep.
common thinking. Yeah.
Awesome. So
The
thank you,
community is
everybody.
amazing.
Thank you, Alex, Derek, and Steven for coming on a little bit earlier. And we'll see you next time and next week, same time next week, for our live stream. And wait, hold on. And you're going to be joining me if we go over midnight. We're going to be celebrating my 41st birthday. So thank you, everybody, for popping on. Thank you for the super chats, Chris. Thank you for popping on. Thank you for the super chat.
Happy birthday early.
Thank you. And go from next week. So thanks, everybody. Good night.